focus is learning. On this time juncture, I welcome Shri Atul Kothari ji, National Secretary, Shiksha Sanskriti Uttan Nyas. Namaskar, sir. Sir, I'm very happy that Shiksha Sanskriti Uttan Nyas ने राष्ट्र कक्षा पे नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2020 एंड हायर एजुकेशन पोस्ट कोविड उसके ऊपर बहुत उम्दा कार्य किया है और इतने समय से जो कार्य चल रहा है उसकी माहिती आज हमें मिलेगी. वी आर वेरी थैंकफुल फॉर दैट. I'm really, it's a matter of pleasure to have AIU and especially Secretary General here with us, whose dynamism has brought huge changes, positive changes in complete vertical of AIU. It's a matter of pleasure and privilege to have and welcome Professor Nageshwar Rao, leading with huge vision IGNO, the Central Open University, and guiding state open universities across India. It's really a matter of pleasure to welcome Professor Nilima Gupta ji, Vice Chancellor, Harisi Ghosh, Sagar Central University. Dr. Rajkumar ji is joining very soon with us, the visionary Vice Chancellor of Jindal University. In very short span, the university has really proven its worth with a visionary leadership. I'm very happy that in second technical session, we have with us Professor Anamik Shah, ex-Vice Chancellor of Gujarat Vidyapeeth. We have with us as speaker, panelist, Dr. Vijaya Lakshmi ji. Vijaya Lakshmi ji is a principal of Miranda House from Delhi University. With us, we would be having a next session, speaker, Professor Dipti Ballaji. I'm very happy that the daughter of Padma Shri awardee, whose mother was Padma Shri award in music, and संस्कार और शिक्षा से उन्होंने संगीत आगे ले गए हैं वो. उसके बाद हमारे साथ as a speaker we would be having Professor Dilip Banerjee, who has worked a huge contribution in the field of language and use of technology in teaching and learning. I'm very happy to share the concept background of the conference would be shared by Mittalji, so I'm not talking much about it. But when it comes to the choice of speakers, we focus more on the various types of speakers with a lot of huge different backgrounds. Today we have chosen because when it comes to higher education post-COVID, how the science faculties dealt with it, how arts faculties dealt with it, how performing arts, humanities, they dealt with it. At the same time, as an administrator, what are the difficulties they faced? Learning, teaching, learning, and how the learning could be more sustainable after post-COVID. What are the efforts put by them? So what we have done is that as speakers, resource person, we have chosen people from the different perspective, different field. They are from administrator, they are vice chancellors, they are from open distance learning, they are from conventional universities, they are from performing arts, they are from language, humanities teaching field. So we have chosen people from various different fields. And I'm sure that this particular virtual consultative meet would be very result oriented and will come with huge outcome. Again, I would welcome you all on this virtual platform. And I would show my deep gratitude towards AIU and Secretary General for choosing Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University for this. And I would not miss to thank the whole team AIU for supporting us. Wish you very, very, very welcome and thank you very much.
Ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am, for your kind words. और अभी हमारे साथ आगे बढ़ने से पहले आज की विषय वस्तु के बारे में और जैसे कि मैम ने बताया इस यूनेस्को प्रोजेक्ट के बारे में बात करने के लिए मैं अभी न्योता देने जा रही हूँ डॉक्टर पंकज मित्तल जी को. शी इज सेक्रेटरी जनरल ऑफ द एसोसिएशन ऑफ इंडियन यूनिवर्सिटीज. ये बड़ी ही गर्व की बात है कि 96 साल के इतिहास एआईयू के इतिहास में वो दूसरी महिला जनरल सेक्रेटरी है. Fulbright scholar Dr. Mittal is not only an eminent academician, but she has also served as the first regular vice chancellor of Bhagat Phul Singh Mahila Vishwavidyalay Khan, the first rural women university of North India. And she transformed the Gurukul into a university which is now on the international map. I would cordially invite Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General of the Association of Indian Universities, for offering the background note. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Divya, for a very kind introduction. And आप सबको नमस्कार, मेरा प्रणाम। आज हमारे साथ माननीय नागेश्वर राव जी हैं, वाइस चांसलर इग्नू, माननीय अतुल कोठारी जी हैं, जो राष्ट्रीय सचिव हैं राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा संस्कृति उत्थान न्यास के, और अभी जुड़ने वाले हैं दीप्ति भल्ला जी एज ए स्पीकर, और अभी जुड़ने वाले हैं राजकुमार जी, जो वाइस चांसलर जिंदल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी के, जुड़ने वाली है नीलिमा गुप्ता जी, जो इस समय वाइस चांसलर है हरि सिंह गौड़ विश्वविद्यालय की। सबसे पहले तो मैं धन्यवाद देना चाहूंगी अमी उपाध्याय जी को, क्योंकि हमारा ये मैंडेट था जब यूनेस्को ने पिछली बार कहा कि हम वर्ल्ड हायर एजुकेशन कॉन्फ्रेंस करेंगे, तो उसमें 10 थीम रखे उन्होंने। तो हमने ये मान के उनसे बात किया यूनेस्को से, और हमने ये कहा कि जितने भी आपके 10 थीम हैं उसके बारे में इंडिया क्या सोचता है, हम आपको बताना चाहते हैं। और इंडिया क्या सोचता है एआईयू खुद नहीं बता सकता, क्योंकि एआईयू तो एक एसोसिएशन है ऑफ समथिंग लाइक 873 यूनिवर्सिटीज की एसोसिएशन है। तो हमने ये सोचा कि कुछ यूनिवर्सिटीज को, कुछ चोजन यूनिवर्सिटीज को हर एक को एक एक थीम देते हैं, हर थीम पे एक एक वेबिनार होगा, और उस वेबिनार के आधार पे हम एक कंट्री पेपर बनाएंगे। डॉक्टर अमरेंद्र पानी जो हमारे साथ जुड़े हुए हैं, वो इस कंट्री पेपर को लिख रहे हैं। उन्होंने ही ये सारे कॉन्फ्रेंसेस वेबिनार्स ऑर्गेनाइज किए हैं। थैंक यू डॉक्टर पानी फॉर ऑर्गेनाइजिंग ऑल दीज प्रोग्राम्स। एंड हमारा ध्येय ये है कि हम कंट्री पेपर यूनेस्को के पास भेजे सभी 10 के 10 थीम्स में, कि इंडिया इन थीम्स के बारे में क्या सोचता है, इसके बारे में क्या सोचता है। तो आई एम श्योर जो मई 2022 में बार्सिलोना स्पेन में ये कॉन्फ्रेंस होगी, तो उसमें इंडिया का व्यू एक तरह से क्लियर कट व्यू आएगा, कि जो कि आधारित होगा बहुत सारी डिस्कशंस के ऊपर, क्योंकि हर एक वेबिनार को बहुत सारे लोगों ने अटेंड किया है। तो हर वेबिनार का जो एक तरह से कॉन्सेप्ट पेपर निकल के आएगा, उन सबको मिला के हम एक कंट्री थीम पेपर बनाएंगे कि इंडिया क्या सोचता है इन 10 थीम्स के बारे में। तो उसी में हमारा जैसे एक थीम था इंटरनेशनल कोऑपरेशन टू एनहांस सिनर्जीज, दैट वाज डन बाय सावित्री बाई फुले यूनिवर्सिटी। फिर दूसरा थीम था क्वालिटी एंड रेलेवेंस ऑफ प्रोग्राम्स, दैट वाज डन बाय श्री श्री यूनिवर्सिटी। Third था inclusion in higher education, again that was done by Diyalbag Educational Institution. आप देख रहे होंगे कि जो themes हैं they are aligning with the type of the university to which it has been allocated. Means the themes were very carefully handpicked. Chosen universities were given these themes depending upon what they are doing. For example, Shastra University was given the theme on data and knowledge production. Mizoram University on governance of higher education. Jindal Global University on higher education and sustainable development goals, because they themselves have done something on sustainable development goals, and their university is doing very good. I mean, they even got a ranking done, impact ranking, how well the university is realizing the sustainable development goals. Then this university, Dr. Ami Upadhyay, she has been doing very well during the COVID period. Therefore, जो ये topic था impact of COVID-19 on higher education, that was allocated to Ambedkar Open University. Financing of higher education was given to NIPA, because of course they are doing a lot of work in financing of higher education. Avinash Lingam Institution, which is a deemed university in Coimbatore, they worked on academic mobility in higher education. And lastly, Jamia Millia University, which is in Delhi, they worked on preparing for the future of higher learning. So all the 10 themes of the UNESCO conference were allocated to 10 different universities, keeping in view the sort of thrust area of that university, keeping in view the type of eminence the university has displayed in that particular area. And I'm also happy to share with you that all the 10 conferences we are completing today. 9 have already been completed. This is the 10th one. So thanks to B.R. Ambedkar Open University for holding this conference for us. Also thanks to Dr. Rajkumar, who also held one of the conferences on sustainable development goals. So we really wish that a very good country paper will come out of this. And when we talk of today's topic of impact of COVID-19 on higher education, तो मुझे याद पड़ता है कि 2020 में जब कोविड आया था, बिल्कुल मार्च 2020 में आया, जब सभी यूनिवर्सिटीज एंड कॉलेजेस बंद हो गए, तो ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि कैसे यूनिवर्सिटी चलेंगी, कैसे कॉलेजेस चलेंगे, बच्चे घर में हैं, टीचर्स घर में, कैसे चलेगा। तो फिर बहुत सारे वेबिनार्स हुए कि कैसे यूनिवर्सिटीज को चलाया जाए, कॉलेजेस को चलाया जाए। तो हमने एक सप्तपदी मीन 7 स्टेप्स, तो सप्तपदी हम बहुत सारे वेबिनार्स में बोलते थे कि ऑल द यूनिवर्सिटीज हैव टू टेक दीज 7 स्टेप्स टू कम्बाट द इफेक्ट of कोविड। तो फर्स्ट एंड फॉरमोस्ट वो सप्तपदी में बड़ी जल्दी से बताऊंगी क्योंकि आई नो मेनी स्पीकर्स आर देयर। तो सप्तपदी में पहला स्टेप हम कहते थे सब यूनिवर्सिटीज को कि पहला स्टेप जो आपको लेना है टू क्रिएट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, स्पेशली द डिजिटल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर। टिल नाउ द यूनिवर्सिटीज आर हैविंग द फिजिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर in terms of say buildings, labs, libraries, but a very few universities were having digital infrastructure in terms of devices, the internet connectivity, and above all the bandwidth for that internet connectivity. The first step was to create the infrastructure. Second was, even if you create the infrastructure, the university teachers and the students, they have to be trained to use this infrastructure. So therefore the second step जो सप्तपदी का दूसरा स्टेप था, हमने कहा कि कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स एज वेल एज द टीचर्स। तो ये भी यूनिवर्सिटीज की जिम्मेवारी थी कि आपको खुद ट्रेन करना है अपने स्टूडेंट्स को ऑन हाउ टू लर्न ऑनलाइन एंड टू योर टीचर्स ऑन हाउ टू टीच ऑनलाइन. So that was the second step. Third was that whenever you want to teach online, you need a platform for that. And all of a sudden, after COVID, a number of platforms came. Zoom came, Blackboard came, WebEx came, Microsoft Teams came, Google Meet came. So many platforms were there, but not many teachers were familiar with which platform to use. So again, we held many webinars at AIU also to train the teachers on sort of different advantages and disadvantages of different platforms so that they can choose a right platform for their university, for their needs, for their teaching learning, and then get themselves trained and then train the students for using that platform. So that was the third step. Fourth was again assessment and evaluation was very difficult because due to corona students could not come to the universities, and online was becoming very difficult because there were a lot of issues with regard to devices, connectivity, proctored examination. So then again, we had many webinars with the universities that how to do the assessment and evaluation, how to do the proctored evaluation using the online means. Jindal did very good work in that area, and they did many examinations online during the corona time. So that was the fourth step. So fifth step was, again, you must have seen key students, they were so dejected when this came because they were losing on the internships, they were losing on the placements. So there was a record dip in the placements during that time. So how to do online placements? Again, there were many platforms. There was a platform called, it was a startup called Jeevitham, which came to AIU, and then we did a webinar for almost all the placement officers on how to do the online placements. कैसे बच्चे online apply करेंगे, online interview होगा, robocalls will be coming to them. So again, that was done. That was the fifth step. Sixth, again, which again a very big deterrent was online content, because unless the online content is there, the universities will not be able to teach the students online. So how to create quality online content? Again, here we had a partnership with Quaspir UK, and they developed a platform called Quedex, in which the teachers were taught how to teach online effectively and how to develop online content. So that was the sixth step. And the seventh step of the Saptapadi was internationalization. Again, हमें लग रहा था कि इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन खत्म ही हो जाएगा because teachers are not able to move, students are not able to move, so how will the internationalization happen? But then very quickly it was realized that it is not the end of the world. Internationalization can happen many times online also, and at times it becomes time effective as well as cost effective. So internationalization, how to promote internationalization online, that was again, we did hold many webinars at AIU that how to promote internationalization. So this was the Saptapadi which we were trying to follow within AIU for helping the universities to combat the effect of COVID, and how to ensure that that COVID doesn't affect them. Then apart from these, two more initiatives were, one was we held with the Jindal Global University, that we brought out a report on how to reopen the university, sort of a step-by-step guide on how to reopen the universities after COVID, starting from classroom, labs, mess, canteens, everything, and even the quarantine rooms, and how to take care of the students if they get infected. So that a lot of help was done by Dr. Rajkumar and his entire team, who did a lot of work on that. So thanks to Dr. Rajkumar for that. And one last thing which we also did was, because many universities were doing many things in COVID, and we wanted to present before the world that how our universities are looking after this. So we brought out a book giving the best practices adopted by the universities for COVID. तो वो book AIU ने publish किया है कि क्या क्या universities, किस यूनिवर्सिटी ने क्या क्या best practices adopt किए during the COVID time, so that the teaching, learning, research does not stop. So all this has been done by AIU, and I'm sure the webinar today will give us more insights on how the post-COVID world will look like, how the COVID impact can be minimized on teaching, learning, and research, or especially the quality of higher education. So we look forward to a very, very energetic conference webinar. Dr. Neelima Gupta ji bhi add kar rahi hai. Namaskar. And I'm sure we will be having very, very good theme paper, concept paper coming out of this, which will be a part of the country paper for the UNESCO. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for such a detailed idea that you have given about Saptapadi and everything else. अब हमारे आज के प्लीनरी सेशन के
Just a minute, Divya ji. Just a minute. I welcome Professor Rajkumar ji and Professor Nilima Gupta ji. An apology for whatever technical problems that you faced. Nilima ji was in meeting when I offered welcome speech. So this virtual platform on this, I really welcome you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
तो आज हमारे प्लेनरी सेशन के प्रथम वक्ता हैं प्रोफेसर अतुल कोठारी जी। आप शिक्षा संस्कृति उत्थान न्यास के राष्ट्रीय सचिव हैं। एक प्रखर शिक्षणविद होने के साथ साथ आप भारतीय भाषा मंच एवं भारतीय भाषा अभियान के संरक्षक भी हैं। नई शिक्षण नीति 2020 को क्रियान्वित करने के लिए उस उपन्यास में आपने बहुत ही बड़ा योगदान दिया हुआ है। मैं आज आपसे विनती करती हूँ कि आप यहाँ पे आकर अपने विचार प्रकट करें।
धन्यवाद। भारतीय विश्वविद्यालय संघ के महासचिव डॉक्टर पंकज मित्तल जी, डॉक्टर बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी गुजरात के सम्मान्य कुलपति प्रोफेसर अमीबेन, प्रोफेसर राजकुमार जी, प्रोफेसर नागेश्वर राव जी, नीलिमा जी, और इस वेबिनार में प्रतिभागिता कर रहे सभी विद्वान आचार्य बंधु और बहनों, सबसे पहले तो मैं एआईयू और बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी को दोनों को बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करना चाहूँगा। एक अत्यंत महत्वपूर्ण विषय पर ये वेबिनार आयोजित किया गया है और उसमें आपने मुझे भी निमंत्रित करके अवसर दिया, इसलिए आपका बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जब कोरोना प्रारंभ हुआ भारत में और पहला लॉकडाउन 24 को स्टार्ट हुआ भारत में, फर्स्ट लॉकडाउन, जब ये लॉकडाउन प्रारंभ हुआ तो पूरा देश दिग्भ्रमित था, सारा देश एक प्रकार से ठप हो गया था, विचार शून्यता एक प्रकार से थी। तो हमने 25 को ही एक हमारे सारे स्टेट कोऑर्डिनेटर है उसके एक हमने व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बनाया और उस व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप का नाम दिया कोरोना की चुनौती एवं अवसर, यानी कोरोना की चैलेंजेस क्या क्या है और उसमें अपॉर्चुनिटी भी क्या है। हायर एजुकेशन की दृष्टि से भी फिर स्टार्ट हुआ तो हमने 4 अप्रैल को एक वाइस चांसलर का और एनआईटी आईआईटी के डायरेक्टर्स का एक व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप बनाया और हमने इसमें स्टार्ट किया कि हम लोग, पहला ये प्रॉब्लम था कि हम लोग सब घर में बंद थे तो क्या करें घर में बैठे बैठे। तो हमने इस पर काम शुरू किया कि हम घर में बैठकर क्या क्या काम कर सकते हैं, उसका एक ड्राफ्ट तैयार किया और पूरे देश में उसको शेयरिंग किया। क्योंकि जो इंटेलेक्चुअल लोग होते हैं वो जब खाली बैठते हैं तो उसके लिए बहुत बड़ी समस्या हो जाती है। और जो वाइस चांसलर ग्रुप से हमने एक वाइस चांसलर को मैंने रिक्वेस्ट किया कि इस कोरोना की सिचुएशन में आप क्या कर सकते हैं, तो कि बताइए। मैंने कहा क्या आप अपने सभी कर्मचारी फैकल्टीज का एक दिन का वेतन दे सकते हैं क्या प्रधानमंत्री कोष में। तो उन्होंने कहा हम डिस्कशन करके बताएंगे। उन्होंने 2 दिन के बाद मुझे बताया कि 1 दिन का नहीं 2 दिन का हम वेतन देंगे। और वो यूनिवर्सिटी ने स्टार्ट किया और वो मीडिया में भी आया और वो हमने शेयर किया। तो देश भर के यूनिवर्सिटीज ने, बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज ने फिर ये काम किया। सारे एजुकेशन इंस्टीट्यूशन ने भी, बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशन ने ये काम किया। और उसके बाद इस ग्रुप में स्टार्ट हुआ, वेबिनार करने का स्टार्ट हुआ, और वो फिर शेयर होता गया, तो वो भी कंटिन्यूस आगे बढ़ता गया। और पहली बार भारत में एक प्रकार से ऑनलाइन सिस्टम प्रारंभ हो गया, स्टार्ट हो गया। और उसमें भी हमने फिर एक पेपर प्लान किया कि हायर एजुकेशन के सामने क्या क्या चैलेंजेस है और साथ साथ अपॉर्चुनिटी भी क्या है। ये दोनों बातें साथ साथ हमने की, और उस पर काफी वेबिनार्स हुए देश भर में, कई यूनिवर्सिटीज ने किए। और सिर्फ वेबिनार नहीं किए यूनिवर्सिटीज ने, बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज ने एजुकेशनल दृष्टि से और सोशल दृष्टि से, दोनों दृष्टि से काफी काम किए। एजुकेशन की दृष्टि से क्या क्या बातें चेंज करना आवश्यक है आज की दृष्टि से उनसे, इस पर फिर हमने ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन जब स्टार्ट हुआ तो ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन के सामने क्या क्या चैलेंजेस है, क्योंकि ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन स्टार्ट तो हो गया, लेकिन वो सक्सेस हो इसलिए हमने प्लान किया। तो हायर लेवल, स्कूल लेवल और एग्जामिनेशन इवेल्यूएशन सिस्टम, इस प्रकार ये तीनों विषय लेकर हमने एआईयू, इग्नो और शिक्षा संस्कृति उत्थान न्यास तीनों ने मिलकर इस पर हमने एक्सरसाइज किया। और काफी यूनिवर्सिटीज के वाइस चांसलर, एनआईटी, आईआईटी के डायरेक्टर्स, वो सब इसमें सम्मिलित हुए। और इस पर फिर प्रॉपरली काम शुरू हो गया। जब एग्जामिनेशन का चैलेंज आया तो इस समय हमने एग्जामिनेशन और रिलेशन पर भी वेबिनार्स किए। स्कूल एजुकेशन पर भी इसी प्रकार हमने काम किया। तो इस दृष्टि से ये जो चैलेंज आती है कोई भी, तो हमारा इसमें मानना है कि जहां चैलेंज होती है वहां अपॉर्चुनिटी की संभावना भी बहुत होती है। और स्वामी रामकृष्ण परमहंस जी ने कहा है कि जीवन में आए अवसरों को व्यक्ति साहस और ज्ञान की कमी के कारण समझ नहीं पाता है। तो साहस और ज्ञान, ये दोनों की आवश्यकता होती है इस प्रकार के काम में। और अब मुझे आनंद इस बात का है कि बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटी ने काम प्रारंभ किया। जब हमने देखा कि इस स्टार्टिंग में हम सब एक्सपीरियंस करते थे कि हमारे यहाँ मास्क की भी प्रॉब्लम था, सैनिटाइजर का प्रॉब्लम था, ऐसे बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम्स थे। लेकिन जब ये सारे काम शुरू हुए तो हमारे देश में स्कूल, कॉलेज, यूनिवर्सिटीज ने इस पर बहुत सारा काम किया, और हम मास्क और सैनिटाइजर एक्सपोर्ट करते थे। इस सिचुएशन में आ गए हम। तो ये मास्क 135 करोड़ की जनता के लिए मास्क देना, सैनिटाइजर के सिस्टम डेवलप करना, ये एक बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज था। लेकिन मुझे इस बात का आनंद है कि हमारे देश ने उसको एक अपॉर्चुनिटी बना दिया, और इसमें एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन और विशेष करके यूनिवर्सिटीज का बहुत बड़ा रोल रहा। बहुत सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज यहाँ उपस्थित है और नहीं है, ऐसे यूनिवर्सिटीज का भी मुझे मालूम है कि ये सब मास्क बनाने का, सैनिटाइजर बनाने का और इस प्रकार के बहुत सारे काम किए। तो ये जो कोरोना का बहुत बड़ा चैलेंज हमारे सामने आया, देश के सामने, इस चैलेंज को हमने ओवरकम कैसे करना है, और उसको साथ साथ इसको अपॉर्चुनिटी में भी ट्रांसफर कैसे करना है। उसी समय हमने, तब एजुकेशन पॉलिसी डिक्लेयर नहीं हुई थी, तो हमने माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को और शिक्षा मंत्री जी को, दोनों को लेटर लिखे कि एजुकेशन पॉलिसी डिक्लेयर करने में जल्दी न की जाए, और जो ये कोरोना की सिचुएशन आई है उसको देखकर इस पॉलिसी में क्या क्या चेंजेस आवश्यक है उसको कर को डिक्लेयर करने के बाद डिक्लेयर किया जाए। और मुझे इस बात का आनंद है कि जब पॉलिसी डिक्लेयर हुई तो उसमें इस प्रकार के चेंजेस, काफी चेंजेस किए गए। और वो चेंजेस सिर्फ नहीं किए गए, अभी नया बजट जो भी आया है उस बजट में भी ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन, ई लर्निंग के लिए काफी कुछ प्रावधान भी देश में किए गए हैं। इस कोरोना की सिचुएशन में हम लोगों ने कई बातें की कभी महसूस की देश में कि हमारे यहाँ वेंटिलेटर भी फॉरेन से आते थे, कई प्रकार की मेडिसिन भी फॉरेन से ही आती थी। तो इस प्रकार की सारी चैलेंजेस हमारे सामने थे। तो लेकिन कई एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन ने, जैसे रुड़की आईआईटी ने वेंटिलेटर बनाकर एम्स को दिए, तो इस प्रकार हायर एजुकेशन के इंस्टीट्यूशन ने, तमिलनाडु के इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज ने नर्स का काम करने वाला रोबोट बनाकर दिया। तो इस प्रकार के बहुत सारे काम हुए। एक फोल्डिंग हॉस्पिटल भी बना, वो भी एक इंजीनियरिंग कॉलेज ने ही बनाया। तो कोरोना की जो जो चैलेंजेस हमारे सामने आई है, अभी सभी चैलेंजेस को हमने, उसका सॉल्यूशन अभी नहीं हुआ है। तो अभी भी बहुत कुछ काम करने की आवश्यकता है। और साथ साथ ये जो राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति नई आई है, उसमें भी इसके प्रावधान किए गए हैं। और जब हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा कि हम देश को आत्मनिर्भर बनाने के लिए काम करें और लोकल को वोकल बनाए, तो जब शिक्षा संस्थान ने इसने विचार किया कि जब माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हमारे सामने ये आह्वान किया है, तो हम लोगों ने इस पर विचार किया कि जब तक भारत देश, किसी भी देश का छात्र आत्मनिर्भर नहीं होता है, तब तक कोई भी देश आत्मनिर्भर नहीं हो सकता है। इसलिए हमने एक अभियान लिया देश भर में कि आत्मनिर्भर भारत में शैक्षिक संस्थानों की भूमिका। और हमारे साथ लगभग 98 संस्थानों ने मिलकर ये कार्य स्टार्ट किया है। और कुछ संस्थानों ने तो जब से कोरोना स्टार्ट हुआ, जैसे विवेकानंद यूनिवर्सिटी सागर, इस प्रकार झाबुआ ट्राइबल एरिया में जो केशव विद्यापीठ और शारदा विद्यापीठ है, उन लोगों ने हमारे साथ मिलकर पिछले 2 साल से लगातार वो काम कर रहे हैं। एक यूनिवर्सिटी क्या कर सकती है, तो विवेकानंद यूनिवर्सिटी ने 1745 लोगों को ट्रेनिंग दी और सबके लिए जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटी डेवलप किया। और सभी को, कई एमएस में से 100 से ज्यादा महिलाओं को तो गवर्नमेंट लोन भी दिया। तो ये जो एक आर्थिक क्राइसिस देश के सामने थी, आज भी है, क्योंकि ये भारत के नहीं पूरे वर्ल्ड के सामने है। तो इस आर्थिक इकोनॉमिकल क्राइसिस जो है, उस दृष्टि से भी हमारा यूनिवर्सिटी सिस्टम बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले कर सकता है। ये उस विवेकानंद यूनिवर्सिटी ने अपने एग्जाम्पल के द्वारा साबित किया। और वहां सागर में उन्होंने कई प्रकार के इस प्रकार के प्रोजेक्ट स्टार्ट किए और स्टूडेंट्स को भी इसमें इन्वॉल्व किया। और खास करके महिलाओं के लिए बहुत सारा उन्होंने काम किया। तो इस प्रकार ये जो आज एक पूरे वर्ल्ड के सामने एक बहुत बड़ी चुनौती है, क्योंकि सारा अर्थ व्यवहार बंद हो गया था, सारे बिजनेस बंद हो गए थे, इंडस्ट्रीज बंद हो गई थी। तो इसलिए अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट, बेरोजगारी भी बहुत बड़ी है। तो इस सब दृष्टि से अगर ये हमारे हायर एजुकेशन के इंस्टीट्यूशन है, वो अगर इस पर काम प्रारंभ करेंगे, जैसे कुछ इंस्टीट्यूशन ने बहुत अच्छा काम किया, मैंने एग्जाम्पल भी एक दिया, तो मुझे लगता है कि देश भर में 1000 यूनिवर्सिटी है। यूनिवर्सिटी और हायर एजुकेशन के जो नेशनल इंपॉर्टेंस के इंस्टीट्यूशन है, और हमारे देश में 45,000 कॉलेजेस है, 18 लाख स्कूल्स है। तो ये सभी संस्थानों का जो एक रोल है सोसाइटी के बारे में, 2 प्रकार की भूमिका जो इस कोरोना काल में इस रोल प्ले भी किया है हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशन ने, कई इंस्टीट्यूशन ने, कि एक एजुकेशन की दृष्टि से क्या क्या बातें होनी है, और दूसरी बात है कि सोशल दृष्टि से, सामाजिक दृष्टि से। तो ये दोनों दृष्टि से यूनिवर्सिटी का बहुत बड़ा रोल हो सकता है, क्योंकि यूनिवर्सिटी कोई टापू नहीं होना चाहिए। यूनिवर्सिटी ये समाज के सुख दुख में सहभागिता करने वाले, समाज को मार्गदर्शन करने वाले, समाज को दिशा देने वाले संस्थान होने चाहिए। तो इस दिशा में कुछ यूनिवर्सिटीज ने काम जरूर शुरू किया है, लेकिन हमें प्रयास कर रहे हैं कि देश भर के सभी यूनिवर्सिटीज और हायर एजुकेशन के इंस्टीट्यूशन है इस दिशा में अग्रसर हो, तो देश के सामने ऐसी कोरोना जैसी कोई भी चैलेंजेस आएगी तो उस चैलेंजेस का सॉल्यूशन तो हम करेंगे ही करेंगे, लेकिन इसको अपॉर्चुनिटी में भी हम ट्रांसफर कर सकते हैं। तो इस कोरोना की सिचुएशन में ये हम लोगों ने, देश ने, सबने मिलकर ये प्रयास किए हैं और आगामी दिनों में इस दिशा में और प्रयास आगे बढ़ाने की आवश्यकता है। इस दिशा में भी हम लोग काम कर रहे हैं। मुझे आनंद है कि इस वेबिनार में जो वक्ता है उसमें अधिकतर वक्ताओं ने अपने अपने यूनिवर्सिटीज में ये सारे काम किए हैं और आगे के दिनों में भी हम लोग करेंगे। इसी विश्वास के साथ मैं मेरी वाणी को विराम देता हूं। आप सभी का और एआईयू का और अंबेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। आपके जो विचार हैं वो मैं आज आशा रखती हूँ कि हमारे साथ जुड़े उन सारे शिक्षणविदों को एक नई दिशा में ले जाएंगे। Now our next plenary speaker is Professor Nageshwar Rao, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Indira Gandhi National Open University. He has almost 4.5 decades of successful career span, which showcased his expertise in academics as well as administrative skills. Along with IGNOU, Professor Rao has served as Vice Chancellor at other open universities such as Uttarakhand Open University and Uttar Pradesh Rajshri Tandon Open University. As an expert in committees and working groups at national and international level, Professor Rao brings with him academic eminence, leadership quality, and exposure to best global practice in education. I would cordially invite Honorable Professor Rao for sharing his views. Over to you, sir.
नमस्कार।
Am I audible?
आदरणीय अतुल कोठारी जी ने जो संदेश हम सबको दिया बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है और प्रारंभ से ही कोरोना में जो दिक्कतें आ रही थी शैक्षिक वातावरण में, उसमें हमें हमेशा उनका मार्गदर्शन प्राप्त होता रहा और आज संयोग से आदरणीय कोठारी जी ने ही इस कार्यक्रम का शुभारंभ किया। जैसा कि राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति के संदर्भ में उन्होंने जो बातें कही कि उसके क्रियान्वयन में कोरोना का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण योगदान रहा है, यही हमारी अपॉर्चुनिटी। इस कार्यक्रम में मुझे आमंत्रित किया आदरणीय अमी उपाध्याय जी, आदरणीय पंकज मित्तल जी, उनके प्रति आभार। और हमारे साथी इस समय दिख रहे हैं राजकुमार जी, नीलिमा जी।
ये तो आपने ही लिखा है, इसका उत्तर लिखना है।
और आप सभी विद्वज्जन, एक्चुअली जिन बातों की
नहीं, ये दो विषय अलग
शिक्षा नीति
अलग
में की है, उनका क्रियान्वयन, बेहतर क्रियान्वयन संयोग से,
शिक्षा उत्थान में इसको ले सकते हैं।
अच्छा,
और उत्तर तो मुझे लिखना है इसको।
संयोग से हमारे
हाँ,
इस पोस्ट कोविड सिनेरियो में
हाँ,
बहुत इफेक्टिव रहा है। अगर आप देखें कि जब शुरू में कहा गया था GER वर्तमान में 26% है और उसको 50% करना है, यानी एजुकेशनल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को जस्ट डबल करना है। कन्वेंशनल यूनिवर्सिटीज जो इंस्टीट्यूशन है उनको भी डबल करना है। इमेजिन करिए कितनी कॉस्ट होती है। और किस तरह से उस इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर को क्रिएट करते और उतना बेहतर रिजल्ट दे पाता। लेकिन आज विश्व की सर्वश्रेष्ठ संस्थाएं जो हमारे देश में उपलब्ध हैं, वे उन्हीं संसाधनों से हमारे जीईआर को बेहतर ढंग से बढ़ाने में महत्वपूर्ण भागीदारी कर रही हैं। चाहे वह डिजिटल एजुकेशन की बात हो, चाहे वह ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन की बात हो, चाहे वह एबीसी जो एकेडमिक बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट है उसके क्रियान्वयन की बात हो, ये सारी बातें इसी दौरान हम लोगों ने आसानी से सोच लिया। वैसे हम लोगों ने जब स्किलिंग की बात सोची थी या एकेडमिक बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट की बात सोची थी, तो हमारे यहाँ 2016 का एक एक्सपेरिमेंट है स्वयं प्लेटफॉर्म का, जिसमें आदरणीय पंकज मित्तल जी का बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा है। उसमें ऑलरेडी पहली बार देश में ये बताया गया कि एक कोर्स के आधार पर भी आप सर्टिफिकेशन ले सकते हैं। उसके पहले प्रोग्राम की बात होती थी। बीकॉम करना है तो 18 कोर्स पढ़िए, 18 पास करिए, तब आपको कोई सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा। 17 पास किया, 18वां नहीं पास किया तो आप बेकार हो गए। देश का भी धन का अपव्यय और हमारे सभी संसाधनों का अपव्यय। लेकिन अब स्वयं ने 2016 में शुरू किया, लेकिन उसकी गति हमें 2020-21 में बहुत ज़्यादा दिखी। आज 2 करोड़ से ज़्यादा लोग उसमें पंजीकृत है। निःशुल्क है, कोर्स आधारित शिक्षण व्यवस्था। उसका महत्व इसलिए है कि हम अगर स्किलिंग करना चाहते हैं, हम अगर मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी की बात सोच रहे हैं, उसमें यह कोर्स आधारित जो सर्टिफिकेशन है बहुत महत्वपूर्ण। आपने बीकॉम का कोर्स किया और चाहते फिजिक्स का एक कोर्स करना, कन्वेंशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन में बहुत मुश्किल है टाइम टेबल को एडजस्ट करना और इसके बारे में सोचना भी। शायद कोई सोचता भी नहीं। लेकिन कोरोना ने क्या कहा कि नहीं, अब आप जाइए स्वयं में रजिस्टर करा लीजिए। ऑलरेडी वहां पर फ्री रजिस्ट्रेशन है। 2 करोड़ लोगों ने फ्री रजिस्ट्रेशन करा रखा है। पढ़ने में कोई पैसा नहीं लगता, डिजिटल रीच में कोई पैसा नहीं लगता। केवल आपको सर्टिफिकेशन जो एनटीए करती है उसमें शायद पैसा लगेगा, और उसके बाद जो सर्टिफिकेट मिलेगा उससे ट्रांसफर क्रिएट कर सकते। तो बीकॉम आपने कन्वेंशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन में ज्वाइन किया और फिजिक्स को आपने वहां पर एनटीए जो स्वयं प्लेटफॉर्म है उस पर आपने कोर्स ले लिया। आपने कहा नहीं, हमें तो एक हिंदी भी पढ़ना है, बीकॉम में नहीं है, तो आप हिंदी का भी एक कोर्स कर लीजिए। 6 महीने में इम्तहान होता है, पढ़ाई हो जाती है। अब आपका बिना कुछ सोचे हुए मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी हो गया, इसी पाठ्यक्रम में बिना अपनी ओर से कोई प्रयास किए हुए। लेकिन एक दिशा तुरंत मिल गई जैसे हम लोगों को कोरोना ने जो वातावरण दिया। और इस वातावरण ने कई यूनिवर्सिटी में, हमने खुद अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में कोर्स बेस्ड रजिस्ट्रेशन स्कीम भी शुरू की हुई है। हमारे जितने पाठ्यक्रम हैं जिसमें प्रैक्टिकल नहीं है, उनको हम लोगों ने कोर्स आधारित पंजीयन की प्रक्रिया और उसका सर्टिफिकेशन शुरू किया। पहले हमारे यहाँ कोर्स आधारित पंजीकरण होता था, लेकिन सर्टिफिकेशन में भागते थे लोग। कई लोगों ने, इस समय वर्तमान जो हमारे में एडिशनल सेक्रेटरी हैं विनीत जोशी जी, उन्होंने भी हमारे उस कोर्स आधारित रजिस्ट्रेशन का 2 या 3 कोर्सेस को इंदिरा गांधी राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विश्वविद्यालय से किया था। अब तो यह बहुत आम हो गई है और हमारे निरंतर इसकी संख्या बढ़ गई। लगभग 8,000 लोगों ने इस वर्ष इस सेशन में उसमें पंजीकृत किया। उसका फायदा क्या है? मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी स्किल आधारित कोई कोर्स है, उसको आप उससे जोड़ सकते हैं। आप डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज का प्रयोग कर सकते हैं, घर बैठे पढ़ सकते हैं। 2017 में स्वयं प्रभा चैनल्स की बात हुई थी। उस समय 33 स्वयं प्रभा चैनल्स थे। क्योंकि ये सब काम पंकज जी ने किया हुआ है। पंकज जी चुपचाप रहती हैं लेकिन काम बहुत करती हैं, और उसका फायदा देखिए हम लोगों ने कोरोना में उठाया है। अब ये चैनल्स 33 नहीं रहेंगे, अब ये 200 चैनल होने वाले हैं। क्यों होने वाले हैं? क्योंकि अब लग गया पूरे देश को कि राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति को बेहतर ढंग से क्रियान्वित करना है, तो बच्चों के पास भी चैनल के माध्यम से शिक्षा पहुंचाए। कक्षा 1 से कक्षा 12 वहां पर चैनल के माध्यम से शिक्षा पहुंचाए। उससे क्या होगा कि बच्चे घर में ही शिक्षा प्राप्त कर सकते हैं। उसी वीडियो को 4 बार दिखा करके वो बच्चा समझ सकता है। वैसे हम क्लास में जाते हैं, अगर लेक्चर हम मिस हो गया तो फिर हमारे पास कोई ऑप्शन नहीं है। कभी कदार उनके साथी जो नोट्स वोट्स बनाते हैं उनको हम लोग ले आते हैं, पढ़ लेते हैं। लेकिन चैनल बेस्ड में एक तो बेस्ट पॉसिबल टीचर अवेलेबल है, और उसके साथ साथ हम लोग बेस्ट जो उसका यूज है बाद में रीयूज भी कर सकते हैं, री एडिट भी कर सकते हैं, और जब इम्तहान हुआ तो पुनः एक बार देख सकते हैं। ये सब जो एडिशनल लाभ है वो हमें इसके कारण मिलने लगे। 33 चैनल अभी भी एक्टिव है। उसमें उस समय तो आईआईटी को कुछ ज़्यादा मिल रहे थे, लेकिन अब धीरे धीरे सामान्य जनता के बीच में, सामान्य सीबीएसई ने, सेकेंडरी एजुकेशन ने काफ़ी संख्या में इनके चैनल्स का प्रयोग करना शुरू कर दिया। अभी तो भारत सरकार ने डिजिटल यूनिवर्सिटी की बात कही है, बहुत बड़ी बात है। सारा काम हमारे पास डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज हैं, उसको अब एक डिग्री के रूप में देना। हमारे पास ऑलरेडी सीईसी के पास डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज है, आईआईटी के पास डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज है, एनडीएल के पास डिजिटल रिसोर्सेज है, नेशनल डिजिटल लाइब्रेरी, हमारे पास सब कुछ है। केवल उसको अब एक शैक्षिक प्रक्रिया में डालने के लिए जो प्रक्रिया है, एक यूनिवर्सिटी बनाने की बात सोच रहे हैं, इंटरनेशनलाइजेशन की बात जैसे मैडम कह रही थी। अब हमें परेशानी नहीं है, हम अपने क्वेश्चन पेपर तक को हम लोग बिना फिजिकल मोड के भेज सकते हैं, डिजिटल मोड में भेज सकते हैं। इवैल्यूएशन डिजिटल मोड पे हो सकता है, असाइनमेंट्स इवैल्यूएशन डिजिटल मोड में हो सकता है, हमारा जो सारा स्टडी मटेरियल है उसको डिजिटल मोड में हम ट्रांसमिट कर सकते हैं। हमने 15% छूट दे रखी है जो बच्चे डिजिटल मोड में स्टडी मटेरियल लेना चाहते हैं। हमें भी फायदा, उनको भी फायदा, एनवायरमेंटल कंसर्न्स भी एड्रेस हो रहा है। ई कंटेंट का ऐप है, सारा का सारा ई कंटेंट आपका एक मोबाइल में आ गया है। ये सब पहले हम लोग सुनते थे, करते नहीं थे। केवल बड़ी बड़ी संस्थाएं, आईआईटीज में थोड़ी बहुत हो जाती थी बातचीतें, एनआईटीज तक जाती थी, लेकिन यूनिवर्सिटीज में बहुत कम इनका प्रयोग होता था। लेकिन अब सब इस तरह से बातें कर रहे हैं। आज इतना बड़ा वर्कशॉप्स या जो सेमिनार हो रहे हैं अंतर्राष्ट्रीय स्तर के, और मैडम ने बताया 10 वर्कशॉप्स एक साथ हो रहे हैं। ये सब संभव कैसे हुआ? ये डिजिटल मोड, हम लोग बातचीत कर पा रहे हैं, बेहतर सोच निकाल पा रहे हैं, मानसिक तनाव खत्म हो रहा है। किसी भी जगह पर किसी भी तरह की बातें अगर शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में देख रहे हैं तो शायद सबसे बेहतर लाभ, सबसे ज्यादा अपॉर्चुनिटीज इस शैक्षिक वातावरण में लोगों को प्राप्त हुई है। इसलिए कोविड ने हमें एक अवसर दिया है। हम लोगों ने इंदिरा गांधी राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विश्वविद्यालय में इस कोविड के दौरान कम से कम 40 नए पाठ्यक्रम शुरू किए। सामान्य रूप से हमारी यूनिवर्सिटी में पिछले 10 साल लगे थे 40 पाठ्यक्रम बनाने में। तो आप देखिए हर जगह हमें अवसर ही अवसर मिल रहे हैं। अपने पाठ्यक्रमों में गुणवत्ता लाना हो, मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी बनाना हो, स्किल ओरिएंटेड कोर्सेज डालने हो, जेनरिक कोर्सेज रखने हो, हर जगह पर एक नई सोच, एक नया चिंतन और बातचीत करने का हमें बेहतर अवसर मिल गया। ये जो टेक्नोलॉजी के द्वारा हम लोग बातचीत कर रहे हैं, इससे हम लोगों को विचारों का आदान प्रदान बहुत बेहतर हो गया। अभी जैसे अदरवाइज क्या होता कि पंकज मैडम बुलाती हैं हमको उनके संस्थान में, तो हमें यहाँ से वहाँ जाने में 1.5 घंटा, लौटने में 1.5 घंटा, फिर अमी जी कहती मैं आ नहीं पा रहे हूँ, हाँ राजकुमार जी बहुत व्यस्त रहते हैं, उनको भी आना बहुत मुश्किल हो जाता। और देखिए नीलिमा जी अभी बात करेंगे, आत्मनिर्भर भारत उन्होंने बहुत बड़ा काम किया है, आत्मनिर्भर शिक्षा को जोड़ करके आप देखिए। रवि कोठारी जी बता ही रहे थे, इन्होंने जो छोटी छोटी बातें हम लोगों को दे रखी हैं, ये हम लोगों ने कोशिश किया है अपने विश्वविद्यालयों में बेहतर ढंग से लागू करें। और आज समय आ गया है कि पूरे देश में हम सब मिल करके इस अभियान को आगे बढ़ाएं। हमें आपने अवसर दिया, आपका बहुत बहुत आभार। पंकज जी और अमी जी दोनों के प्रति विशेष आभार। धन्यवाद।
धन्यवाद सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर कैप्टिवेटिंग एंड इंसाइटफुल स्पीच। आपने बहुत अच्छी बात की आफत को अवसर में बदलने की। And now our next plenary speaker is visionary Vice Chancellor Professor C. Rajkumar, a Rhodes Scholar and founding Vice Chancellor of OP Jindal Global University. Besides as the Vice Chancellor of the university, he showcased exemplary organizational and administrative skills, which has been the epitome of good governance for the institution. He has played significant role in the development of Jindal Global University and made it one of the only 20 universities in India which has been declared as Institution of Eminence by Government of India. I would cordially welcome Professor for the lecture.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be here. First of all, I want to apologize that I will not be able to speak as beautifully as Professor Nageshwar Rao in Hindi. मैं क्षमा चाहता हूँ, मैं अंग्रेजी में बोलूँगा मेरा जो बात मैं कहना चाहता था. So apologies to all of you. I would like to, first of all, congratulate Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University and also the Association of Indian Universities for hosting this consultative meeting on the impact of COVID-19 on higher education. When two extraordinary women, Professor Ami Upadhyay as well as Dr. Pankaj Mittal come together, nothing but even more extraordinary things like this happen. It's not the first time they both have collaborated. We had seen the launch of a major initiative, including a report that we had prepared together at an event that was hosted, if I remember correctly, last year when both the Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University as well as AIU together did one of the AIU major conferences. So I'm once again delighted that we are all coming together for this occasion. I want to recognize the presence of Professor Atul Kothari, Professor Nageshwar Rao, Professor Nilima Gupta, as well as Dr. Amrinder Pani at this webinar. So what I thought I will quickly do, and I think everything that the other speakers said resonates with the theme of what we are discussing today. And I think it is only fair to say that a lot has been said about the challenges of COVID since March 2020, including the extraordinary role that the scientists, including medical professionals, healthcare workers, and those who are at the front line when it comes to providing healthcare and interventions there. But I must say that less has been talked and celebrated about the contribution of educators. In fact, the schools, the colleges, the universities, and teachers and professors and administrators across the world have done an extraordinary service to humankind in the last 2 years, in which the larger learning project has not been interrupted whenever it has been possible. We will talk a little bit about the challenges itself of COVID-19. I want to quickly draw your attention to some very important information and data, which I think will help us understand where we are today. UNESCO had conducted a global survey which reveals the impact of COVID-19 on higher education. This survey was administered in 193 UNESCO member states and 11 associate members. 65 countries submitted responses, and 57 of them have been used in the analysis of this report that UNESCO published. And the report talks about a number of things, but I want to bring together a few elements of the report for our larger understanding. Clearly, it talked about access problem. The COVID-19 impact is one of those challenges which affected the whole world, but it affected those countries which had inherent challenges with regard to access in education. It affected them disproportionately. The entire gamut of international mobility was affected. There was also significant disruption on research and collaborations through research and so forth. I mean, I'm going to skip there, but those of you who are interested in this report, I will send the link of the report in the chat box so that you can read it if you like. So what I thought I will do is I will quickly give you a little bit of a pointed framework of what I want to say. 5 things I want to say on the COVID-19 challenge itself. The first was, unlike many other challenges that we have faced, the humanity, this was a truly global challenge in which every part of the world, developed or developing, was affected due to the pandemic, and the life of an education institution, school, college, university were affected and impacted. The second part of it is even more important, which is that while it is true that it was a global challenge, the reality is it disproportionately affected developing countries such as India. And that's a very important point that we need to remember, because if we don't recognize the disproportionate impact on countries like India, we won't be able to take the right measures for the future. And as somebody who strongly promoted and continue to believe in technology and the role of online education, we also need to recognize the significant challenges that we are facing in India today. So, for example, I want all of us to be aware that while the learning project as such, all of us who are part of the institutions which are represented here, I must say that we are somewhat privileged when it comes to be able to move into online education. Within several days at OP Jindal Global University, we moved into online education. Our students were, of course, privileged to have access to electricity and Wi-Fi connection. Our faculty members were able to teach from anywhere in India and anywhere in the world. We completed our entire teaching semester with absolutely no interruption. We, of course, also conducted examinations. We started the new academic year. We had our entrance examinations to AI-enabled and remote proctored method. And of course, we pretty much continued that till now. And we have, of course, announced that on 1st of March 2022, we will start our classes physically. But I must say that we are privileged. We are not a good example for the reality of India. The reality of India is something much more challenging, much more difficult, and much more, at times depressing. The challenge of remote learning is actually a huge disparity creating system in which both electricity and internet connection and absence of devices, including computers and smartphones, does pose a significant challenge. For example, we know that access to electricity is crucial for digital education. While the government's own Saubhagya scheme does provide electricity to households, show that 99.9% of homes in India have a power connection. But it becomes even more complex when you start looking at the quality of electricity and the number of hours for which it's available every day. Mission Antodaya, a nationwide survey of villages conducted by the Ministry of Rural Development in as late as 2018, showed that 16% of Indian households received 1 to 8 hours of electricity daily, 33% of them received 9 to 12 hours, and only 47% of them received more than 12 hours a day. Now, of course, we know that computers are critical for online classes. A smartphone may also serve the purpose, but the reality is many of these phones may not be conveniently used for apps, and for carrying out lengthy assignments and research, it becomes even more difficult. So 24% of Indians own a smartphone. Only 11% of households possess any type of computer, which could also include desktop and laptop and notebook and other things. Even the penetration of digital technology in India has been rather haphazard and exclusionary. According to this same 2018 National Sample Survey report on education, only 24% of Indian households have an internet facility, while 66% of India's population live in villages. Only a little over 15% of rural households have access to internet services. For urban households, the proportion is 42%. In fact, the reality is only 8% of all households with members aged between 5 and 24 have both a computer and an internet connection. So I want to stop here with data and bring home the larger point that one of the most important things that we need to do when it comes to the future is to recognize the role of technology. I'll come back to it in 2 minutes, but before I do that, I want to talk about the third thing in terms of the challenge. The learning ecosystem was impacted in an unimaginable manner. Teaching, research, experiential learning, conduct of examinations, including conduct of entrance examinations, all of them were impacted. Fourth, the technology challenge I talked about is not only in relation to hardware, but also software. And the fifth, of course, we discussed a bit earlier, which is about inequalities and iniquities that were already prevalent in the education system came to dominate and impact. Now, that's the more sadder part of it. Let me move forward. What are we supposed to do? What should we do about the future? First, we need to have significant investment in technology. There are no second thoughts about it. Wi-Fi ought to be a fundamental right, and because it helps in fulfilling other rights in more ways than we can imagine. We need to recognize the role of technology, including access to technology, as well as Wi-Fi services across the country, so that we are able to ensure that any sort of disruption in our physical ecosystem can be managed more effectively in the future. We all know that COVID-19 is not the last pandemic that we will be facing in our own lives. As WHO has predicted, and as other scientists have said, these are sign of our times. And if there is one lesson that all of us have learned through the pandemic, is to never underestimate the uncertainty of the future, and to be better prepared, and to be able to have the necessary tools and equipment and ideas that can help us to respond to the challenges in the future. The second aspect is about need for regulatory freedom, with more freedom and flexibility for universities and academic institutions to determine what they can and should do in the best interest of students. In fact, I've always maintained that our higher education system is over-regulated and under-governed. The reality is, this is an opportunity for us to reimagine the future with lesser regulations and more agency on the part of individual academic institutions to be able to take responsibility in ensuring that these matters are dealt with at the institutional level. The third, something that I deeply believe, is that the continuing disconnection between the public and the private university, the divide that exists continuously, need to be broken, and further shackles need to be removed, so that the Indian higher education ecosystem can grow together and not based upon these restrictions. 4, online education needs to be further promoted, but we need to move beyond the mediocrity that has probably affected and impacted online education. We need to talk in terms of how to promote excellence in online education. We need to remove barriers and overcome our biases and prejudices when it comes to online education. I recognize the fact that some disciplines, especially certain aspects of science and medical sciences in particular, and even probably architecture and a few other areas, are far more challenging when it comes to online education. But I strongly believe that good part of liberal arts, humanities, social sciences, including law, for example, has enormous potential for us to be able to have a more hybrid and online-based approach to education. And I'm happy that even the regulatory bodies today are much more open towards thinking in that direction. The fifth, of course, is I'm very delighted that one of the silver linings of the entire pandemic in India in education, all the way since March 2020 to March 2022, is the fact that when the entire world of higher education and education was shaken up, when developed countries were not able to recover from the shock of COVID-19, India demonstrated leadership by producing the National Education Policy. On 29th July 2020, the National Education Policy was unveiled, and we demonstrated that we will be able to, even in these difficult times, we were able to demonstrate resilience. The NEP is a transformative document. There is so much in NEP that is futuristic, and I dare say has taken into account the type of challenges that we are all facing in COVID-19. I am confident that with the right intent and also execution and implementing capacities, we will be able to fulfill the goals and aspirations of NEP, but also prepare our education institutions, including our universities, to be able to face the future challenges of NEP. I am particularly grateful to the Association of Indian Universities and the dynamic leadership of the Secretary General, Professor Dr. Pankaj Mittal, for continuously engaged with the higher education community all through the pandemic. In fact, there have been so many webinars organized on various topics and themes that brought together the entire higher education community on numerous occasions, be it on issues relating to the disease itself, bringing in experts from India and around the world, be it on vaccination, be it on technology, pedagogy, internationalization, online education, you name it, the Association of Indian Universities was at the forefront. And I also want to say that the AIU, and particularly it's also the personality of Dr. Mittal to bring together people. We all know that a good part of higher education leaders have enormous egos and personal reluctance to collaborate with institutions and other people. But I think it is only fair to say that Dr. Mittal, and in this case, Dr. Upadhyay, and many others have been able to come together in the larger public interest to be able to help Indian academic institutions to face the challenge of COVID-19 and to overcome it with a deeper sense of commitment and dedication, but also be conscious that to be having resilience to respond to this challenge means that to build internal capacities on the basis of knowledge and understanding of issues surrounding the challenge itself. I want to once again congratulate Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University and the Association of Indian Universities to host this consultative meeting on the impact of COVID-19 on higher education. I have already mentioned that Professor Ami Upadhyay, the Vice Chancellor of the university, and Dr. Mittal are truly remarkable and inspiring education leaders who are leading us from the front. In many ways, to be able to be part of this conversation helps us to better prepare to respond to these challenges. I would like to wish this effort, in particular the report that Dr. Amrinder Pani is preparing, which I believe is going to be extremely useful. I also want to draw attention to these many other initiatives. One, of course, was a report that both AIU and Jindal Global University prepared with regard to the opening up itself. And I'll request Dr. Mittal to share the link to our friends here. We also did another report on the implementation of NEP. There was another report that OP Jindal Global University and Vidya Bharati and University of Delhi prepared, again on certain elements of the implementation of NEP. And as I speak today, there are two more initiatives, including a working group that UGC itself has set up. I mean, I'm happy that these things are happening. I also feel that it is time for us to work towards actual implementation, because we've already celebrated the first anniversary of the NEP on 29th of July 2021, and soon we'll be celebrating the second anniversary of NEP. It's time we also work towards implementing these important and path-breaking ideas that are already in the NEP itself, which I believe is going to be useful not only during COVID, but even beyond COVID. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your eloquent and well-informed speech. I'm sure we will all together work in the direction that you have suggested to face the challenges of online education in India. Our next speaker is Professor Nilima Gupta ji, an eminent academician of international repute. Professor Gupta has over 30 years of academic experience as a teacher, researcher, and administrator. Professor Gupta is currently Vice Chancellor of Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya in Sagar, Madhya Pradesh, and has been associated with several committees of UGC, NEC, AICTE, AIU, and a number of central and state universities. I invite her for sharing her ideas with us. Welcome, Professor Nilimaji.
Thank you very much. It's indeed a great pleasure for me to be a part of this meet organized by Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University under the aegis of Association of Indian University. Organized this consultative meeting on impact of COVID-19 on higher education. I feel happy to see that, as usual, we have the guidance of Dr. Pankaj Mittal, who is always a pioneer, and she has been giving new ideas during this period, even on COVID-19. And when not only new initiatives were taken up by her, but also the grant publications which came out during this period, especially reimagining the entire education system. We had very good publications, and I think which are useful for all of us. माननीय अतुल कोठारी भाई जी, जो हमेशा शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में एक प्रेरणा स्रोत रहे हैं, और मेरे लिए भी बहुत बड़ी प्रेरणा दी है उन्होंने, स्पेशली आत्मनिर्भर भारत के मूवमेंट में। उस समय जब पहली वेव आई थी तो मैं कानपुर विश्वविद्यालय में कुलपति थी, और उनके मार्गदर्शन में हम लोगों ने आत्मनिर्भर कानपुर मूवमेंट चलाया था। वो हमारे राष्ट्रीय सलाहकार थे। मैं बहुत आभारी हूँ उनकी, और बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि आज इस वेबिनार के माध्यम से हमें उनका मार्गदर्शन देखने को मिला। प्रोफेसर एमी उपाध्याय, who is a very good organizer. I have seen her organizational potential, and again she has taken this initiative when we are discussing at length what would be the impact of COVID-19 on higher education. I thank her for inviting me to be a part of this webinar. Professor Nageshwar Rao ji, who is another leader in the field of education, always busy in different academic meets, and he's a pathbreaker, and he's a torchbearer in many of these academic events. I feel delighted to see him here. Professor C. Rajkumar, whom we just heard about his views on COVID-19 on higher education, and all those who are linked up here to address the issues of COVID-19 on higher education. In fact, during these past 3 years, it was a very different type of experience for me, because during the first wave of COVID-19, I was Vice Chancellor at Chhatrapati Shahuji Maharaj University at Kanpur. During the second wave of COVID-19, I was Vice Chancellor at Tilka Manjhi Bhagalpur University at Bhagalpur, Bihar. And during the third wave of COVID-19, I am here at Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Sagar University. So there were challenges. Why I'm referring this is that there were challenges in all these universities, and I feel so happy that whenever there is any type of challenge, and especially when we talk about education, the pioneers in Indian education, it may be the Association of Indian University, it may be the Ministry of Education, it may be the University Grants Commission, it may be Shiksha Sanskriti Utthan Nyas, who have taken a very leadership role. And I think that, like Dr. Pankaj Bittal was saying, that the university scoped up very well. It was with the support of all these national bodies who stood beside us, and organizing, of course, each and every university tried their level best to cope up with the situation. And it was the support of these national bodies which helped us to pull through these situations. In fact, when we talk about this period, अतुल भाई जी was also talking about कि जब कोरोना हुआ और हम लोग सब लॉकडाउन में यहाँ पर थे, तो ये मैंने उन्हीं से सीखा कि जब चुनौती होती है तो अवसर में कैसे बदला जाए। तो इस चुनौती के दौर में उन्होंने जब कुछ पुस्तकें लिखी कि कैसे कोविड-19 में क्या कर सकते हैं, शिक्षा का क्या प्रारूप होना चाहिए, और हम इस चुनौती को हम कैसे अवसर में बदलें, उससे मुझे लगता है कि सब लोगों को प्रेरणा मिली, और हम लोगों ने इस सिचुएशन को, जिसके लिए हम लोग बिल्कुल भी तैयार नहीं थे, उसको हम लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे से हम लोगों ने हैंडल किया। If we talk about the Indian education system, we find that it is the third largest in the world, next only to China and USA. In terms of students enrollment, and in India it is the second largest education system of the world. So when it becomes such a large system, to think about this education system in our country is indeed really very important. And I feel also very happy that for the first time India is among the 50 countries with rank of 48 in the Global Innovation Index. We talk about innovation. Innovation, I feel that it is an outcome of COVID-19. Because if we remember, in the year 2014, we had about only 400 of these innovation or incubation clubs. But now today we have over 60,000. ये भी हमारे माननीय प्रधानमंत्री 2-3 दिन पहले ही अपने एक स्टेटमेंट में कहा था. So I feel that we have made a very grand progress. So it is due to this COVID-19 has tried to show us the path towards a better education system. In the 1960s, the University of Illinois, USA,
एक lot
developed
of things in
PLATO, which
तो
is the programmed logic for automated teaching operations, which had interlinked computers forming a network with multi-user parameters as a learning system. And this was what led us to the development of the present day intranet. So today, when we are talking of digital India, we're talking about digital education system. I think this becomes very important because now today, the current day economics of online education with a worldwide market of well over 250 billion US dollars in 2020, it is expected to be about $1 trillion by the year 2027. तो हम किस दिशा में चल रहे हैं? अभी हम ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन की हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो ये डेटा सिर्फ हमें ये बताते हैं कि हम ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन में आने के बाद हम लोगों ने कितनी प्रगति की है। हम लोग आज अगर इंटरनेशनल लेवल पर हम सोचें तो हम कहाँ से कहाँ हम पहुँच गए हैं। तो जब ये ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन सिस्टम आया नहीं, एक्चुअली इनफैक्ट वी वर ये चुनौती बनकर आया। एंड इन द ईयर 2020 ड्यूरिंग द फर्स्ट वेव ऑफ COVID-19, without any preparation, we switched over to this online education system. But this system, it was really like a boon during that period because we had no other alternative. और हमारी एक मजबूरी बन गई कि नहीं, हमें ऑनलाइन टीचिंग में जाना ही है। लेकिन मुझे बहुत प्रसन्नता है कि उस पीरियड में भी हम लोगों ने कैसे इतने अच्छे अच्छे वेबिनार्स ऑर्गेनाइज करके ये प्लेटफॉर्म जो आज हम इतनी सहूलियत से आज हम यूज कर रहे हैं, उस समय हम सबके लिए नया था। और many of us we did not even know how to use these platforms. हमने सीखा इसे और आज ये हो गया कि जैसे अभी पूर्व वक्ता बता रहे थे कि हम लोग आज इतने फ्लुएंट हो गए, कभी भी हम लोग एक दिन के नोटिस पर 2 दिन के नोटिस बैठ जाते हैं और हम लोग चर्चा कर लेते हैं। तो ये तो एडवांटेज हुआ। अगर हम एडवांटेजेस की बात करें तो इसको किसी भी लोकेशन से टू अटेंड टू और डिलीवरी ऑफ लेक्चर्स फ्रॉम एनी लोकेशन, एंड देन वी कैन हैव रिकॉर्डेड लेक्चर्स। पहले हमारे पास ई कंटेंट नहीं हुआ करते थे और हम लोग अपने लेक्चर्स के माध्यम से जो भी क्लास में हम ले जा रहे हैं, चाहे ब्लैक बोर्ड टीचिंग हो, चाहे पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन हो, जो टीचर के पास मटेरियल होता था वही हम इसको इम्पार्ट करते थे। But now we have e-content, and many of the governments, they have started making a collection of these e-content which they are uploading on their website, so that we can visit these again and again whenever it is required. There is an ease in access to lecture notes and presentations recordings, use of audio visuals which improves the student attention, because a student, हम आप सबको देख रहे हैं तो हम attentive ज़्यादा हो सकते हैं, तो एक और benefit इसको और सिलेबस को कवर करने में, क्योंकि जब ये रूटीन क्लासरूम्स होते थे हमारे टाइम टेबल में क्लासेस अलॉटेड थी, हम उसी में हम क्लासेस लिया करते थे। बट नाउ विद दिस ऑनलाइन सिस्टम वी कैन एनी टाइम वी कैन हैव एन एक्सेस टू आवर स्टूडेंट्स एंड द टीचर्स, एंड वी कैन हैव दीज ऑनलाइन क्लासेस एंड द सिलेबस इज कंप्लीटेड मच बिफोर द टाइम। We can deliver lectures to a larger student capacity. और बहुत से बच्चे जो रिमोट एरियाज में रहते थे, कभी नहीं आ पाते थे, अब वो भी लिंक अप हो जाते हैं। और अब ये एक स्ट्रेस लेवल को भी एक थोड़ा सा कंट्रोल करता है। और the student learns in isolation being in a virtual group, and these audio visuals can be accessed. पर इसके साथ साथ लेकिन कुछ चैलेंजेस भी आए। जब भी ये इसकी बात हुई, हम लोगों ने बहुत उस पीरियड में भी वेबिनार्स किए और उस पर चर्चा की कि इसमें चैलेंजेस कौन कौन से हैं। तो वी नो, सिंस आई वाज इन कानपुर अर्लियर, and there we had about 1000 colleges affiliated to our university, and many of them were in rural areas. So this internet connectivity was a very big problem. बच्चे ये कहते थे कि हमें इंटरनेट ही नहीं आ रहा, हम क्लासेस हम कैसे अटेंड करें। So poor or inconsistent internet connectivity was a very big problem. And then for practical courses, which is even today we have this problem that for the practical courses online teaching does not hold very good, and it has a less of mentor-mentee interaction, this online system. And even at times we find that there is a lack of laptops and computers where the students can have their access. But to overcome these difficulties, we have been coping up with these situations very well. because I recall that UNESCO suggested the government to take certain measures. ये सब जारी जब problems आई तो ये अलग-अलग organizations आगे आई निकल के तो UNESCO ने जो कहा था they gave four points to us, that is include higher education in the stimulus plans for economic and social recovery. Chelsea, it is also in, as one of the agenda items which Dr. Annie has asked. So I think this is very important. Second was to forge a national consensus for a strategy for fostering recovery and innovation in higher education. And I already told you that this has come up very nicely, that is the innovation part, to provide a clear regulatory environment when reopening of classrooms that generates security. This is really very important because we had the first wave, we had to our institutions, second wave, we had to institutions. And again, we are facing this problem because as we went from the first wave to the second wave to the third wave, if we do not talk about the severity of COVID, if we try to talk about the spread of this virus, it has increased at every step. So with this increase in the COVID, how we can open up and so that our students are safe and we can come back to our normal routine and also commit to international cooperation. This I would like to stress a few points because I'm particularly interested in this aspect, and it had troubled us before even COVID had come. We find that many of our students migrate to other countries for higher studies. And this is, if we look into the data, about 7.58 lakhs of Indian students migrate every year for higher studies to other countries. So on one hand, when we're talking about improvement quality of education, I feel that post-COVID era, it has been very helpful. In fact, the UGC had also set up one movement, Stay and Study in India. And I had actively taken part in that movement, also given some suggestions, which I would like to share with you here. Because I feel that COVID-19 put a stop, and our parents, even the students, they try to retain themselves back in our country. This is a very good opportunity for our students so that we can retain our good talent. All our good talent, they were migrating. It was a brain drain. They were going to other countries. So I feel very happy in sharing because I was very much concerned about this, that the number of students going for higher education, it dropped by 55%. That is a pretty high number. So we have been able to retain them. Now we would be creditable only when we are able to provide them quality education. So this is another big challenge that post-COVID, if we have this opportunity to retain some of our good brains, how can we provide them better facilities so that they can be retained here and our country can be benefited. So we can I mean, our students, they are moving to other countries. So why can't we have that? We can have our own campuses which can be set up in other countries as well. Because we find that about 100 universities, foreign universities, are operating from India. So we can do the same thing. We can also do the same thing for our country also. So if we are trying to take a benefit from this very aspect, I would say that we are providing free ships and academic scholarships in our country. If we try to compare in India, and we find that our students who are going out, many of the universities, depending on the caliber of the student, they are providing free ships and scholarships. So in India also, we can provide these free ships and scholarships to our brilliant students so that they can be retained here. And the world-class environment which is being provided, which is attracting our students to the US, to the UK, first world countries. I would say that we can improve this also in our university. We have to attract international talent here. Whenever we talk about the ranking of universities, there also I feel that we are unable to attract the foreign talents to our city and our foreign students as well as foreign faculty. So we have to attract the for international talent. I also feel very happy that this the government has also launched a move earn while you learn. We ourselves are practicing here in Dr. Hari Singh Gaur University. So I think that this has to be encouraged. loan facility, it should be reversed. Right now, we are giving loan to our students to go to foreign countries, but we should try to do it the other way around. We should try to give loan to our own students so that they can study in India only. Then we should increase this is a very big problem, you know. All our good institutions, they have limited number of seats, and our good students, they are unable to find a seat in these institutions, and then they are compelled to move. So we can also increase the number of seats in well-performing universities, and we can have twinning programs with other university, even foreign universities. So those students who have a craze to go to foreign countries, if we have twinning programs, in fact, I was sponsored by the British Council, and we had worked on this plan with British embassy also. So we can have joint programs, dual degrees, lateral entry, which we are multiple entry, multiple exit. We have also started here in our university. And facilitating online lectures, it has really become practicable through these COVID. Practical off and on campus experiences, we can provide a network which can help significantly with the job offers. This is also important. And above all, you know, intra-country exposure, this can be done very easily. We have some very good universities and some not so good universities. So why can't we have this exchange of these students in these universities itself so that they can have a better exposure? We're also talking about linkage between academia and industries and research facilities. I'm very strongly of the opinion that we should have cluster universities where we should have sharing of research facilities. So I think that during this post-COVID era, some of these we have already been able to fulfill, and our path has become clear. So, and lastly, the last point was my suggestion, and it has also come up as one of the clause in the national education policy is flexibility to tailor courses, which option we did not have earlier. So I do feel that we have much to do, and we are doing. And I'm sure that with these types of initiatives which are being taken by AIU and by university being chaired by Professor Ami Upadhyay, who herself is a very dynamic leader, I'm sure that we'll be able to achieve these goods. And what we are talking about today is that COVID-19, how the education should be after COVID-19. We have some very grand ideas. We are already implementing. And the biggest achievement is that we have become digital. So I'm reminded about our Prime Minister's one very simple quote, that is IT plus IT is equal to IT. So if we have Indian talent plus information technology, we can build up the India. So I do hope that we move in this positive direction. And I compliment Professor Abhi Upadhyay and his initiative, and I do hope this meet is going to be fruitful. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
थैंक यू सो मच मैम, आपने हमारे साथ अपने वैल्यूएबल एक्सपीरियंसेस शेयर किए और मैं उम्मीद करती हूँ कि ये सारे एक्सपीरियंसेस हमें आगे ले जाने में बहुत सारी सहायता करेंगे. एंड थैंक यू सो मच वंस अगेन. नाउ आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट डॉक्टर अमरिंदर पानी. He is head of research division at AIU. Dr. Pani has throughout with us for making this event a huge success and constantly provided his valuable guidance to us. I kindly request Dr. Pani to propose vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Divya. Esteemed Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities, Madam Dr. Pankaj Mittal. आज की ये जो संगोष्ठी की मुख्य अतिथि हैं श्री अतुल कोठारी जी, माननीय राष्ट्रीय सचिव, शिक्षा संस्थान शिक्षा संस्कृति उत्थान न्यास, प्रोफेसर नागेश्वर राव, कुलपति महोदय, इंदिरा गांधी राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विश्वविद्यालय, मैडम डॉक्टर नीलिमा गुप्ता, कुलपति डॉक्टर हरि सिंह गौर विश्वविद्यालय सागर, मैडम डॉक्टर एम यू उपाध्याय, कुलपति बाबा साहब अम्बेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी अहमदाबाद, मैडम डॉक्टर दीप्ति भल्ला, आई कैन सी शी हैज लॉग्ड ऑन, प्रोफेसर सी राजकुमार, esteemed Vice Chancellor of Jindal Global University, and other delegates, those who have logged on to this meeting, consultative meeting today. I have only a very small and formal role, that is presenting a vote of thanks. But before sharing the vote of thanks, just let me share my observation a little bit. I understand we have overshot the time. We have very small time in hand. मैं ज़्यादा समय नहीं लेते हुए सिर्फ एक दो ऑब्जर्वेशन आप लोगों से शेयर करना चाहूँगा. सबसे पहले, I understand today's discourse, the theme of the discourse and deliberation, that is impact of COVID-19 on higher education, educational institutions, which is also a part of the series of consultative meetings we have planned to suffice the call of UNESCO and to provide them the country report, as already Madam Secretary General has discussed in her remarks, introductory remarks. No deliberation at this juncture of time, to the best of my consideration and mind, can be significant than the impact of COVID-19. For last 2.5 years, we have been reeling under tremendous pressure. Many disruptions, disappointments. It has really pushed them to lots of complications, complexities inside the campuses of the organizations and in our working procedure and everything. Forced us to prepare ourselves to embrace to a paradigm shift which was never witnessed earlier. Of course, I do believe आज की ये जो पॉइंट, ये इतिहास की सुनहरी जो पन्ने पर ऐसे ही दर्ज होगा जैसे कभी 1948 में अमेरिका बॉम्बार्डमेंट किया था जापान, हिरोशिमा और नागासाकी ऊपर, और एक न्यू नॉर्मल सिचुएशन क्रिएट हुआ था जहां से हम रियलाइज किए थे कि ह्यूमन राइट्स नीड्स टू बी रिकॉग्नाइज्ड, नीड्स टू बी प्रोटेक्टेड. Similarly, standing at this juncture of history, at this point of the time, I do believe ये समय हमेशा हमारी मेमोरी में रहेगा. एटलीस्ट जो जनरेशन ये समय को आज फेस किए हैं, जिसको हम बीसी, बिफोर कोरोना और आफ्टर कोरोना कहते हैं, बीसी एंड एसी, ये हमें याद रहेगा. एनीवे, कमिंग टू माय फॉर्मल बिजनेस फॉर व्हिच आई present myself before you, just to present a small vote of thanks. I begin with माननीय अतुल कोठारी जी, जो आज की मुख्य अतिथि रहे हैं ये संगोष्ठी की. दरअसल मैं कोशिश कर रहा था कि ये कंसल्टेटिव मीटिंग का हिंदी शब्द टर्म क्या हो सकता है, और मुझे मिला ये परामर्शदात्री बैठक. तो इसलिए हमें तो ये है कि भाषा तो सही अच्छा है, बट लेट अस से इट्स कंसल्टेटिव मीटिंग. तो आज ये कंसल्टेटिव मीटिंग का जो मुख्य अतिथि रहे हैं माननीय अतुल कोठारी जी, एक सीजन्ड एकेडमिशियन हैं एंड एक बहुत अच्छा सोशल थिंकर हैं. हम उनको बहुत सारी संगोष्ठी में भाग लेते हुए और अपनी आइडियाज हमारी साथ शेयर करते हुए देखे हैं. सर, सबसे पहले हम आपकी आभारी हैं कि आज हमारी बुलावा पर आप यहाँ आए और हमारे साथ कुछ बातें, कुछ आपकी जो आउटस्टैंडिंग आइडियाज आपने शेयर किया, उसके लिए हम आपको धन्यवाद देते हैं. हम ये समझते हैं कि आप बहुत व्यस्त रहते हैं, लेकिन फिर भी आपकी ये व्यस्तता मय जीवन से आपने कुछ क्षण हमारे लिए निकाल पाए हैं, और फॉर सच ए पायस पर्पस, फॉर सच ए सिग्निफिकेंट पर्पस, इसलिए आज हम आपको साधुवाद देते हैं और धन्यवाद अर्पण करते हैं. आई वुड लाइक टू एक्सप्रेस sincere gratitude to Dr. Pankaj Mittal for taking the overall initiative of guiding us, directing us, and really helping us to organize these consultative meetings in its desired format, the way we want to develop the country paper. We have developed a specific format for that also. So मैडम की समय समय में जो इंटरवेंशन और हमें गाइड करना कि इसको कैसे ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे और किस रूप से ऑर्गेनाइज करेंगे, एंड ये सब चीज़ों के लिए मैडम आपको धन्यवाद अर्पण करते हैं. और आपको इसके लिए भी धन्यवाद देते हैं कि आपने बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी को ये थीम के ऊपर डिलिबरेट करने के लिए चुना भी है. और धन्यवाद आपको. मैडम कुलपति महोदय जो हैं बाबा साहब आम्बेडकर ओपन यूनिवर्सिटी का, तो उन्होंने ये प्रोग्राम को बहुत अच्छे से ऑर्गेनाइज किया. अभी तो हाफ वे में है हम प्रोग्राम में, लेकिन मैं इन द मीन टाइम इन एब्सेंसिया आई वुड एक्नॉलेज वन पर्सन, डॉक्टर जेनी साहा, जिसने ये प्रोग्राम को काफी हद तक प्रिपरेटरी वर्क को की थी, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली मे बी शी हैज relinquished her position from the present university and joined somewhere, and Dr. Divya has taken up the एक्टिविटी, एंड आई बिलीव कि ये ठीक से अकम्प्लिश होगा और हमें एक अच्छे रिपोर्ट मिलेगा। और जो सीजनड आइडियाज, जो वाइब्रेंट आइडियाज यहाँ इस मीटिंग में आज ट्रांसपायर हो रहे हैं, उस पर अच्छे से कैप्चर करके एक हमें गुड उत्कृष्ट रिपोर्ट मिलेगा, ये मुझे उम्मीद है। तो मैडम एमी, थैंक यू वेरी मच, एंड all our speakers like Professor Nageshwar Rao, a seasoned academician and astute administrator. नागेश्वर राव साहब तकरीबन 15 से 20 साल हो गया बहुत ही एक्टिवली वेरियस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को लीडरशिप भी दिए हैं, और इग्नू में खैर इस समय में कार्यरत हैं कुलपति की तौर पर, और उनकी जो दिग्दर्शन में, जो डायरेक्शन में इग्नू जिस समय में जिस तरह से काम कर रहा है, ये बहुत प्रशंसनीय है। और सर, हम आपको धन्यवाद अर्पण करते हैं कि आप अपना बहुमूल्य समय आज ये संगोष्ठी के लिए निकाला, सो थैंक यू सो मच। देन वी हैव अदर स्पीकर्स ऑल्सो लाइक डॉक्टर नीलिमा गुप्ता मैडम, ऑफ कोर्स श्री सी राजकुमार साहब, who has been always a friend, a personal friend of mine, a friend of AIU, and a very good academician. He always comes up with outstanding ideas, and हम लोग जो है AIU जिंदल ग्लोबल यूनिवर्सिटी के साथ काफी सारी एक्टिविटीज में कोलैबोरेशन किए हैं। मैडम ने इसकी एक विस्तृत विवरणी उनकी रिमार्क्स में दे रखे हैं, मैडम डॉक्टर मित्तल। और राजकुमार साहब को मैं हमेशा एडमायर, अपनी पर्सनल तौर से भी उनको एडमायर करता हूं, बिकॉज ऑफ हिज नॉलेज, आइडियाज एंड एक्टिवनेस, डायनामिज्म। इज अ वेरी यंग पर्सन, और तो इसलिए उनकी जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है, तो उसको मैं एक्नॉलेज करते हुए डॉक्टर राजकुमार को थैंक्स अर्पण करता हूं। देन वी हैव अदर स्पीकर्स, I think in the technical session, those who are likely to speak, number one, Professor Anamik Saha, and we have Professor Dilip Barad, Professor Dipti Bhalla मैडम, इनको हमें सुनेंगे नेक्स्ट टेक्निकल सेशन में। मैं उनको पहले तो वेलकम करता हूं और उनको धन्यवाद देता हूं कि हमारी इनविटेशन पर, जॉइंट इनविटेशन पर वो यहाँ आए, और आप लोगों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और आखिरी में जो आपकी ये टेक्निकल टीम है, आई अंडरस्टैंड वेबएक्स वाज ए न्यू प्लेटफॉर्म, आमतौर पर हम लोग जूम वगैरह में ज़्यादा फेमिलियर हैं, और मुझे भी इसमें एंट्री करने में, लॉग ऑन करने में बहुत डिफिकल्ट, आई वाज लिटरली स्ट्रगलिंग, एंड फाइनली आई कुड लॉग ऑन, बट माय वीडियो वाज नॉट अपीयरिंग। सो मैं एक मैसेज मैडम एमी को भेजा कि मैडम कैन यू प्लीज आस्क योर टेक्निकल टीम टू मेक माय वीडियो ऑन, व्हिच वाज रियली ऑकवर्ड फॉर मी, बट एनीवे आई गिव मेनी थैंक्स टू योर टेक्निकल टीम कि फाइनली उन्होंने प्रॉब्लम्स को रिजॉल्व कर लिया, एंड ऑल द थिंग्स जो बाद में सबसे जैसे भी शुरुआत हो, और जब वो आखिरी उसकी अच्छा हो जाता है, हम खुश हो जाते हैं। सो थैंक यू सो मच द टेक्निकल टीम फॉर टेकिंग गुड केयर ऑफ दिस first inaugural session, and I expect you to be alert also for the next technical session, जिसमें असलियत में कुछ आइडियाज हमारे पास आएंगे, जिसको हम रिपोर्ट की फॉर्म में कैप्चर करेंगे। और बाकी तमाम साथी लोग जो मेरे हैं, डॉक्टर उषा और असिस्टेंट डायरेक्टर AIU, माय कॉलीग हियर, जो इस प्रोग्राम को कोऑर्डिनेशन देखते हैं, डॉक्टर राहुल हैं, और हमारे तमाम सभी साथियों को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देते हुए ये धन्यवाद अर्पण करने का जो सेरेमनी, ये इसको मैं यहीं स्टॉप करना चाहूँगा, और आप लोगों को मैं साधुवाद पुनः देते हुए वाणी को विराम देना चाहूँगा। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू सो मच सर, थैंक्स अ लॉट। आपने हमेशा हमारा सहकार दिया, और आपके गाइडेंस में ही हमारा जो भी काम हुआ है वो हुआ है सर। और इसके साथ ही मैं सारे पैनल में जो अभी हमारे एमिनेंट स्पीकर्स थे, उन सभी का धन्यवाद अदा करती हूँ। और इसके साथ मैं यहाँ पे कहना चाहती हूँ कि अब हमारा जो नेक्स्ट सेशन है वो टेक्निकल सेशन होगा, and for that I would invite my colleague Dr. Reena Vaishnav to start the session, but before that we will take a 5-minute break, and then we will start our next technical session. With that हम यहाँ पे 5 मिनट का ब्रेक लेते हैं।
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hello. Hello.
Yeah, namaste. Anamik
Can
bhai.
you hear me?
Yes, I can listen. Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. So I also have joined from Bhavnagar, and
Right.
we are waiting for the host to come. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Dilip bhai, કેમ છે?
Haji, namaste.
કાંઈ વાંધો નહીં, હજી લોકો 5 મિનિટની રિસેસ રાખશે કદાચ.
હા, 5 મિનિટનો બ્રેક રાખ્યો છે એટલે હાજી.
Namaskar. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yes, thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Namaskar. I, Dr. Reena Vaishnav, Assistant Professor in Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, the only state open university in Gujarat. I feel overwhelmed that I got this opportunity to host this webinar. On behalf of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, I welcome you all eminent speakers in consultative webinar on impact of COVID-19 on higher education, which is organized by Association of Indian Universities, which acts as a representative of universities of India and also coordinates the universities with the government. The topic of this webinar is Impact of COVID-19 on higher education. According to the report of UNESCO and the International Association of Universities, on 1st April 2020, schools and higher education institutions were closed in 185 countries, affecting around 1.5 billion learners, which constitute 89% of total enrolled learners. How did coronavirus affect higher education? On this subject, our eminent speakers will present their views. First, I welcome Honorable Professor Anamik Shah, who is the former Vice Chancellor of Gujarat Vidyapith, Ahmedabad, for consecutive terms. Professor Shah has been awarded BSR professorship from UGC. He has initiated to create a unique facility, National Facility for Drug Discovery Complex, to support small and medium pharmaceutical and chemical manufacturing units of the region, with initial grant of rupees 8 crore under DST project. So I request Professor Anamik Shah sir to share his views on impact of COVID-19 on higher education. Please, sir.
Thank you very much for inviting me. At the outset, let me thank you, especially Babasaheb Ambedkar University, Association of Indian University, as well as UNESCO, and personally to Honorable Vice Chancellor of Babasaheb Ambedkar University, Dr. Amiben, as well as Dr. Pankaj Mittal, Secretary General of AIU, with whom we have worked lots of time at different platforms. As the beginning trend of this discussion already set in the first session, and many eminent speakers have give their opinion on what should be the right roadmap for the Indian education system, and especially role of universities and other stakeholders. But I think that fundamentally, as somebody said, that there are few drivers that are fundamentally affecting the way we live, the way we think, and the way we act. They are technology, urbanization, and the related issues of employment and climate change, as well as democracy itself. They are closely related to each other. And the question is how they are affecting you now. How will they affect you as you enter in the real world? And how could our student be have and give the reactions to that? We know that the technology promise was to help us understand ourselves better and improve ourselves. But no one thought that this would lead to us all becoming clones of each other, all trying to look the same, all talking in the same way, and most importantly, thinking in the same way. Technology was expected to help us develop our own individual and unique way of thinking. Are we able to assess correctly what the reality is today? Or are we able, or our students are able to assess the extent of truth in what politicians say? So, basically, from the graduate outcome, what we see, how is world changing around you? How should you use your education to keeping moving forward in this ever-changing world? And what is the meaning of education in today's world? Statistically, we are very much aware that in our country, if the number games are to be talked about, more than 1,000 universities, 43,000 colleges, more than 12,000 standalone institutes, and 38.5 million students. And we are happy to share that almost more than 45 to 49% students are girl students. So the equality persists as far as the gender ratio is concerned. And it is up to 48% currently. But unfortunately, we are spending on GDP 3.8% only. Central University, whatever they are getting from Central Fund, the largest chunk goes to Central Universities, 57%. Colleges of Central University again is getting more than 19%. State universities funding is meager 4% from the central budget. College of State University is 1.75%. Inter-university centers has 2%. Few doomed universities are getting 4.5%. In way of students support. Fellowships and scholarships are pretty good. It is 9.56%. We must say that. And regional centers are getting 1.32. But the difference between the central and state universities, the number of students enrolled in central universities and state universities, do we have enough room for library resources, laboratory resources, skill centers, hostel facilities, and other amenities? From 2006, 27 private universities. In 2020, we have now 356 private universities, but majority of private universities are running technical courses, professional education, and majority of upper middle class and upper class students are enrolled in there. And we are surprised to notice that 35% colleges are running single program. So out of all colleges run, 38% are B.Ed colleges. So this is how we can see. But the best part is that still the reputation of government run institutes, central universities, IITs, IIMs, people want to go there. If they are getting admission there, they will never go for the optional sources for education, whether abroad or whether in-house privately funded high fee structure this thing. So when we think about the post-pandemic situation of universities and our education system, what should be our national concern? Do we address and arrange and manage with the proper system on food, health and education? How do we in post-COVID system are in a position to match with changing scenario of world economy, growth without job, jobless progress, losing job due to pandemic, and due to no training at all in IT or other technology platforms, and underskilling millions of Indians? Are we going to address this? International Labor Organization says that it's alarming because now IT and technology platforms are creating havoc for the individual person who want to sweat, who want to work and who want to earn for himself and support his family. So post-COVID-19 pedagogy to upgrade, to upskill human resources every 3 years needed with fact changing of technology revolution. Are we in a position and are we ready for this post-COVID situation? So Department of Education at central level, policymakers must ensure that every student or youth across the length and breadth of country has access to all such education services and facilities to sustain themselves, their family, and support the nation to aid in GDP. I would also like to point out, or I think that in my presentation it will come later on, so I will skip that. But experts' opinion is also that the majority of children who obtain good rank in exams belong to general category and good and well-to-do family. So humble and poor family background having average score for want of limited seats in the central or state universities with the name of education, they have to go to the fold of privately funded universities, and we know that now it has outsmart the number from state and central university to the private institutes. Can post-COVID pandemic, our policymaker and strategists can overcome this by using technology, use of open source learning or open learning for all, and support self-sustained and financially managed Atmanirbhar education system in NAP 20 pedagogy. What will be the budget requirement? What will be the strategy to ascertain how resources from society and beneficiary, that is the beneficiary of Indian education system, that is industry and commerce, who get workforce, will support this national goal. Budget bridging finance between the UG and PG students. There is a time gap. From PG to PhD, there is another time gap. And there are large number of postdoc fellowships which are needed to be installed immediately so that the permanent positions are created. The real innovators and students from IIM, from IITs, from NIPER, from ISER, they will not go to abroad, and our directly plugged in human resource can be saved from the country's for the contribution to the country's GDP. So this is a big question. We have to ask ourselves that how we can go for our um, uh, our next pedagogy. Friend, we have fairly good learning resources and availabilities. We have InfibNet, but in recent years, the budget of InfibNet was cut. It was open for a few universities, but when we say that the universal education, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, then this budget is to be increased manifold so that the smallest university in the tribal area or smallest college in the tribal area can have access to all this facility, and we have to go back to the consortium subscription so that electronic resources are available offline and online to all students. Similarly, the Sodh Sindhu is also, e-Sodh Sindhu is also having a limited accessibility to the fewer institutions. Why not to all? This is also the another important aspect when we are calling about that the post-COVID effect to be reduced. This is the another important aspect, because after all, the recurring expenditures on data science, e-resources, and there are free resources which are available. We have to go for the best use of that. We know yesterday's patent registered, you can get online today, free of cost. Millions of patents are available for the researchers and innovators and entrepreneurs. But what we need, and what I feel, that in post-corona period, we need to give nodal centers for e-resources, and which will be accessible to the region as a whole, and they should take care of supplying all these e-resources to the rest of the smaller colleges, smaller centers, and universities. Uh, my sentence is that don't feed to overfeed. As far as we have limited financial resources, and Niti Aayog and 5-year plan, even RUSA and funding agencies should look after this, because we don't need to make the giant much bigger and larger than their size. Let this opportunity come to the poor mass, to the deprived lot who are striving for education from the smallest workplace, and they are needed to be changed in the post-COVID situation. We also have to create the revenue models, and we know that on one hand we have IITs which has a large budget, and similarly we have an Institute of Chemical Technology like Bombay, where each faculty is earning more than 10 times of their own salary and contributing substantially to the institute. So this model should be replicated to the elsewhere, so that there will be a appropriate industry and academic and research organizations collaboration. So this is very much necessary. Restructuring of higher education is also required, and critical study of NAP for successful roadmap leading to aspiration of youth and requirement of nation is need of the hour. The distribution of public money and finance in water, food, health, education and shelter, and increasing in employability and or self-employment is the most primary requirement as on today. Decentralization of resources, democratization of planning and reverse migration from city to each rural area, and the concept of Hind Swaraj to Gram Swaraj for self-reliance and sustainability is the ideal path, and it is the applicable path. Anyone can practice, because the small is beautiful. You can very well plan a village then the smart city. So we have to follow the ideal path to follow, especially education for primary and secondary, and there should be the priority for the nation. Many diverse, successful, many models we have generated, and I have already mentioned IITs, IIMs, many engineering colleges, without going abroad, with lack of our scientists, with the lacks of lack means our thousands of our scientists, what I mean to say, have developed indigenous technologies in last 70 years in the field of space, defense, atomic energy, petrochemical, pharmaceutical, agro products, and green and white revolutions, and starting from the most scientific thinking and science oriented, our first Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to current Prime Minister, we have list of success saga, and it can go on and on. But I'm not going to discuss about that. But there is a very important point I just want to mention, that the eminent professors who have devoted their entire life for education, spent wonderful formidable years of their lives in workshop, library, laboratories, decades and decades, in IIMs, in IITs, in National Institute of Technologies, in CSIL laboratories. They have contributed so well that we can consider them as a germ plasm, and any disturbance in the pedagogy which is created not in 1 or 2 years, it is the 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 70 years, 80 years pedagogy, and somewhere like Gujarat Vidyapith or Banaras Hindu University, it is 100 years pedagogy. We should not damage that. We should not force them. We should honor their freedom, and their pedagogy is to be adoptable, and it should be replicate or duplicate in the similar manner, so that the benefit of their experience can be availed in the post-COVID situation to many other institutions, because now IT is in our help, the information technology, we don't have to go physically everywhere. So these are something which can be very importantly seen. Similarly, some experience during the COVID-19, I don't know the people who are hearing this webinar, they are aware about what is happening at the Vignan Ashram Pabal. But let me tell you that you don't require multi-story building and very good architecture of large campuses. But in Vignan Ashram, in small huts, they have created a equally wonderful facilities for 3D printers. And 3D printers are nothing but they are manufacturing devices. You will be surprised to know that by involving local people, by involving students of engineering, or by local youth, the Pabal Ashram during COVID period, they were able to replicate more than 10 lakh of the COVID equipments, and particularly face masks, to the rest of the world. They have sent all this from a very small place which is known as a Pabal Ashram. And Dr. Vinod Kulkarni, Yogesh Kulkarni is looking after them. You can see on the website what a wonderful work they have done. Similarly, I want to cite that in many universities like Gujarat Vidyapith and many others, the wonderful work has been done. Even Gujarat Technology Universities, the students have even in pharmacy departments of some university of Gujarat, the students have taken the task to serve the patients of COVID-19, and the Master of Social Welfare students were put in several hospitals in Gujarat, and they have successfully completed their course. Why you need classroom education when you are getting a direct approach and such kind of experiment to this? So this is what we can go, and this are, I think that it will be a very good learning things for us. So when we are calling about the national education policy and post-COVID situation in the education system, what will be the inclusive education? What is our strategy for with online mode? Can we create a robust education system by our public and privately funded universities that the unemployed youth can take a daytime job or nighttime job and part-time assignment to survive his family against poverty and simultaneously working in free hours at his own time, at his own home, and updated his skill in his knowledge, in language, in other sectors. And the seekers may be a married woman or youth who didn't have funding to go to cities and achieve enrollment in higher education through equally, though he is or she is equally talented one. How we are able to reach to them and provide a hybrid model. So ultimately, nation can challenge China for future ready talent for nation building. All of us are aware that only 50% enrolled in class 1, when they are reaching to the 12th standard and going to the higher education, it is only 15%. So 85% is out from our higher education system. In post-COVID situation, with last 2 years online education system, can we create any model? Are we in a position to address this 85% large youth population whose unskilledness, whose less knowledge or less experience or subject knowledge or domain knowledge will ultimately a great loss to our nation? What we can do about that? And that is my question to all our people or stakeholders and to policymakers, University Grant Commission, AICT, AIU, Vice Chancellors, bureaucrats and educationists. Can we create a socio-eco education system where a rural poor youth or tribal girl can get accessibility by keeping them learning, continuous learning and update them? Friends, international level organization has said that unless we are not up to date, the technology revolution which is coming, it will wash away thousands, not thousands, but millions of jobs. And people will feel redundant. They have no meaning in life. And today we are seeing in the villages, the people who are 50 years old, who are 60 years old, who are not technology savvy, they are facing a big problem. The second important thing is that when India is more than 45% depend on the agriculture sector, the number of agriculture institute and training centers are very meager. If you look to the national figures, the agriculture graduates and postgraduates, they are very, very less. The number one, almost 50% is the arts graduates or what we call the humanity. 50% of that number is commerce, then comes science, then comes management and other, then comes medical and other things. Can we change this ratio? Can we train more people in agriculture so that they will remain in the village and they will support their family, and the food processing industry can give a boom? This is also a need of ours, because we know that in post-COVID, in COVID situation, people were deprived of their food because there was no transportation from one place to another place. If we are coming on such planning which will allow them to stay at their home places, agricultural field, and yet to have opportunity to have a short-term, long-term, lifelong learning leading to certificate, diploma, degree, and upgrade their upskill in themselves. The various horrible experience of post has many social, economical, psychological negative outcome. But this gives us a new direction to think different, new models of higher education for those who are 85% left out or drop out or whatever we call them. And it depends on how the all stakeholders, higher education department, Niti Aayog, finance department take this timely address priority and challenge to fight this very big and vast battle in compared to Europe, US, China and rest of South Asian tigers. What is our strategy for this? I think that it is a most important part of our this thing. If we are able to motivate our higher education students to enter into social service and train to teach rural folk or their hometown in small numbers, and which national education policy says to create a parallel support service in spite of all teachers, faculties, universities, colleges. Can our educated youth can go to villages, and especially in maths, in science, in language, and in social service sector, they can do much better, and they can train their juniors in a wonderful way in different time, and particularly in the post-COVID and COVID time. So their time is utilized in the socially productive work. So this is what I want to suggest. This can be a futuristic sustainable model for increasing gross enrollment ratio too. This can also supplement to increase number of girls for studying in online mode for a higher education, and simultaneously we can create a stipendiary earning model, one person, one school, and they can get some fund. It is only supportive fund, not a full-fledged job, but they are staying at home. So with less cost, this model can be created. Now the last part of my point, someone can alert me whether my time is over.
Yes, sir.
It's fine,
Yeah,
sir.
so
Yes, please.
I have 2-3 minutes.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, thank you. So what are the impact of long time? Online classes will coexist with the offline. There will be online exams also. Responsibility of learning will be shifting to students and parents in school and for adult self. Students will learn to work independently. There will be change of mindset to searching for job, to searching for project on sustained basis. I know very a good number of people, girls and boys, who are working at home, and they are creating wonderful work at home, and they are earning simultaneously without going to any office space. So their home is their working place, and therefore they are working in a with the changing mindset. In future, the long time impact will also be on online, open distance learning to online materials transfer. Things can work, major switchover will be there. But the question is that whether it will reduce the cost, virtual classroom to e-university, which is predicted in our new budget, and I think that it is a most revolutionary idea to have the not the open university but a e-university, which will be one of the major idea, and if that can work on a bigger platform than IGNO, then nothing better than that. Of course, the investors, players, both Indian and abroad, will reach for online education tool with appropriate technology, content, efficient delivery, and monitoring system, and that will be challenging for the colleges, for the state universities, for the central universities, as well as from the private universities who are doing fantastic well. And it is a big challenge because after all it is a commerce and commercialization of education. So mode of learning, the way we taught and study under new normal, we have to go for acceptance of the technology, otherwise we will lagging behind. My earlier speakers have very much defined that only 8% household is able to have this facility. So what will be the about the rest of the people? The question must be answered by the central government, by the UGC, by the stakeholders, and by the Ministry of Finance as well as Department of Education. But the hope is that one best teacher of subject can now teach thousands of students, and this opportunity was never existing. So a teacher who is sitting in the IIT can teach vehemently with full force to the entire students of his worldwide classroom, and we can have many things, and this is happening everywhere now. But again, if this will go for the commercial aspect, then we know that many teachers will lose their job also, and which will not fit model for the Indian subcontinent. We can foresee major changes in the post education world, post corona education world, changes in the syllabus of B schools, medical schools, experimental science, laboratory work, chemistry, biology, microbiology, engineering science, biotech, nano, mechanical, electrical and electronic engineering. And therefore, the current road in the post COVID-19, we have to go for national education policy which will lead to competency based learning, inculcating creative thinking, and led us to the critical thinking capacities. So can we retain our student directly in the field in this post-COVID time? A big problem. But I think that if a proper planning is done and top level management is done, we can send our students instead of sitting idle at one place and attending only the classroom. Why not to become them live uh, people who are working in the production units, in agriculture fields, in social service sector, in social work research, in health services, in education services, entrepreneurship, and they can be our backbone for futuristic approach. So by this way, we have to create a economic support model or stipendary system so that we can revamp the entire education system which can survive with critical low cost support. I think that many of our things I have mentioned, but I just want to mention the last question. As somebody told, I think that Dr. Nilima Gupta has pointed that the market of education, the people who are looking it as a commerce, they are seeing it as a $260 billion market. And India's, now we compare that if we have this education system to be taken away by not by the government, not by the private institutes run in the Indian subcontinent, but when foreign players and monopolistic corporation will come to us, this will be a drastic. So I want to put as a question to all our audience, because in June 21, Google and Biju's announcement a partnership to provide education services in India. by offering education contents gratis and supporting personalized learning. Google Biju see themselves as facilitating the transition from traditional brick and mortar classroom to a virtual learning place, potentially benefiting millions of Indian students during and beyond pandemic. Examining now the implications of this tie-up in the context of commercialization of education and the increasing concentration of power with monopolistic corporations, where we will go. Private platforms in the unregulated ed tech sector, it is the education technology sector, ed tech sector, are incentivized to prioritize growth above all else, and their programs are sharply opposed to what the government of India wants to make education for all, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, and government wants socially transformative aims of the education to be adopted at all India level. So with this cautionary remark, I have put some of my important point, and I hope that we will deliberate further on this, as these are very important aspects which I have noted and I have studied for this lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Professor Anamik Shah, sir, for your thoughtful views on the topic of impact of COVID-19 on higher education. Thank you, sir. Miranda House is a constituent college for women at the University of Delhi. Professor Bijaya Lakshmi Nanda ma'am is the principal of the college, Miranda House. She is the recipient of ICSSR Doctoral Fellowship and the Delhi University's Vice Chancellor's Teachers Excellence Award in 2017. She is a member of the Advisory Committee on PCPNDT Act of the Government of VCT of Delhi. She has been research advisor to the National Commission for Women, NCW, and the member of core committee on the issue of sex-selective abortion, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India. So now I request to Professor Bijaya Lakshmi Nanda ma'am to present her thoughts on the subject impact of COVID-19 on higher education. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, madam, for that generous introduction. I would like to first, thank the Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Ami Upadhyay. Thank you, ma'am, for giving me this opportunity. I would again like to thank the Honorable Secretary General, Association of Indian Universities, Dr. Pankaj Mittal. And also, I would like to thank the speaker, Professor, former Vice Chancellor, Gujarat Vidyapith, Professor Anamik Shah, because he has already put many of the points that I would have liked to have deliberated upon, but it is always good to learn from you, sir. So on that note, I shall bring in a very small voice, a voice of a college, an undergraduate college in University of Delhi, and our engagement with this global pandemic and how education has been provided during this time. I would begin with saying that I will be speaking on how we explored resilience during this period from an institutional perspective. Like I think we have said that this was a challenging time, but it provided us many opportunities. But it is also, like Charles Dickens says in the Tale of Two Cities about the French Revolution, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So from that, we have learned a number of opportunities, but the challenges were immense. When we look at institutional resilience and self-care, I think what we get focused on are personalized kind of understandings, which are individual perspectives, which can be inspiring or motivating at a psychological level, or of an institutional one, which is talking about the idea of self-reliance. But I think what the speakers have brought today to us was the divide, the kind of access or the kind of, inclusion that is necessary under this particular condition of the pandemic. Having said that,
I think it is important, since we are talking about a UNESCO report, and the UNESCO report has very clearly put down certain points about the state of education in India. And I would like to agree with Dr. Mittal that you cannot homogenize an understanding on education or bring about a state of education report without looking at country specific differences. I think in that sense, I would like to agree with her there, and keeping that in mind, I would think it would be more useful for us to look at a South Asian perspective or an Asian African perspective to get a sense of where India stands, and also to look at various kinds of institutional delivery that has happened during the time of the pandemic within India, because India is so diverse, we can learn so much from here. So I would say I agree with Dr. Mittal that we need to look at it from an India-centric, pluralistic, diversified understanding of how institutions have responded, reacted, and very beautifully integrated understanding of the opportunities that have emerged in this field. In that, I would say, I would refer to an African proverb which says it takes a village to raise a child. I think the Association of Indian Universities, in the way they have connected so many universities to look at the sustainable development goals, shows us that this is the only way to learn, to grow together, to be able to do so. And then there is the African or the Zulu saying, Ubuntu, I am because you are. I think that is also another value that we are being able to provide through this kind of a integrated understanding of what the pandemic has done to institutions, how institutions have responded to it, what the country has provided us in terms of resources. The other saying is Vasudeva Kutumbakam, which is the ancient Indian philosophy that the world is one family. I think these are the understandings, and also the understanding of fraternity in the Indian constitution. And looking at it from a point of view, I think Professor Amarendra Prani had referred to how human rights emerged, but also the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was questioned from a cultural relativistic position, that you need to look at the Asian values of caring and sharing. So I think in terms of the global pandemic and the way it has affected us, I think it is important, and something that Professor Shah has also pointed out, for us to step back and look at the way we have been progressing, the way that we have been focusing on certain kinds of skills. Do we need to move away from that to examine a more sustainable life and more sustainable life skills and sustainable education skills? I think that's an important learning that we need to have. While doing that, now I bring my institution here and the learnings that has happened during this period. I would see that as a recommendation that we make here, one of the recommendations that can be made is to bring together the case studies or the best practices from all institutions across the country, and to be able to deliver a certain kind of an understanding of what the pandemic had meant to us and how have we responded to it. So I would like to say that while we have all talked about inclusion and accessibility, I must say that in the first wave, when we moved on to looking at the examination of distance online education, which of course Indira Gandhi Open University has been doing for so long in India, we were learning then, and the problems of accessibility did emerge. I mean, the problems of accessibility from students who were in remote areas did emerge. But by the second wave, it was like teaching birds to fly. Students were innately resilient, they were idealistic, they were supportive, they came forward, talked about their problems, and teachers who were also the frontline workers. See, while we are saying that, all the time the COVID warriors are the doctors and the nurses, I would say that the teachers, the frontline workers, were the COVID healers. So they came forward, and there was a lot of learning in that field. So in terms of nurturance, and in the terms in which Guru Sishya Parampara, which was there in India earlier, but in the way it is delivered, which is not so, it is not removed from the emotive aspects. That is something that we were able to provide here. And I would say that that is something worth capturing as to how teachers in various parts of India have provided that kind of a learning. So in University of Delhi and in a college like ours, our focus, when we realized that accessibility and inclusion was a necessity, was on intersectionality, looking across, looking the young girl in a tribal area, how do we reach out to her where electricity is a problem, what are the communities to work with, what are the kind of collaborations we can make in that field. So it is not necessary that it only has to be us. So Delhi University also created the Vidya Vistar scheme, which was based on a similar understanding, that how can various colleges or universities come together to be able to bring about greater accessibility and inclusion. So in that sphere, I would say this was an important. Then another thing that emerged was, in terms of accessibility, was disability. And disability, especially because all of it is being delivered online, we had to take into consideration those students who will not be able to access that kind of resource, what is to be developed in that field. So that again remains an area that needs great work. And looking at accessibility, we also need to look at availability, we need to look at affordability. So that is an area that we have worked on in Miranda House, creating resources all across Delhi University. And I think we should also recognize that the government of India, Ministry of Education and the University Grants Commission always emphasize on student outreach and uniformity in all spheres. And their intervention was extremely successful in that field. So by the second wave, I must tell you that particular problem that we had in the college on accessibility, and especially on accessibility, that was, we were able to overcome that. So I'm just saying, as a point of recommendation, to study the connecting the dots between what has improved within that period of time, and to be able to bring about it in a qualitative way rather than just in a quantitative way. Dr. Mittal is very capable of really engaging on this field. I have seen her work on gross enrollment ratio, and she's able to capture that nuance. So I would appeal to her to see how we can capture it in a qualitative way, because there's a huge improvement on the ground. But how do you capture that in terms of data analysis? That's something that needs to be looked at. Another thing is that when resources were distributed in India, every time they are, diversity becomes it is a concern. So the greatest benefit of the least advantaged, a Rolesian saying, but I think in India we were able to do that. Most of the time when we talk about it, we don't talk about the high end. We talk about how do we bring about the greatest benefit of the least advantage. So that was a focus that remained with us. So whether you take a look at research, multidisciplinary research, whether you look at placement, whether you look at other forms of innovations, whether you do with various strengthening of teams, work leaders, or experiential learning beyond the brick and mortar skill-based learning, all of that was looking at the greatest benefit of the least advantage. I think this is something that we in the India status report need to capture. This has happened. So we remain a work in progress. It is not to demonize or idealize. The point that I would like to basically capture here is that, yes, we must see also that in the union budget of 2021-23, we are looking at 11% hike in this year's union budget for education. We are looking at the the emergence of a digital university. But yes, we do need to have more understanding on how technological infrastructure response has to be done. How do we improve in that area? That is one. Capacity building is a major area. Curriculum change, of course, the NEP is providing us that understanding so we can develop that. In terms of skill development, I would also like to agree that while we are looking again at the same kind of jobs that we are looking at earlier, we need to engage with the new jobs. So while in an undergraduate college, our focus is on employability, make our students employable. I must share with you that all over University of Delhi, all the colleges that are there, placements have actually been better during this period. So it is not as if we have lost out on those opportunities, but yes, the idea of making students more employable and looking at the future of work. What is the kind of work that will come in the future? Can we turn around that particular understanding? I would think that work on environmental sustainability is a very important area. Agricultural work that we talked about, work around public health, a very, very emerging field. It needs to be enhanced. Public health has to bring in not just the notion of science, but how social sciences, our understanding of indigenous medical knowledge, how it can be interconnected. That's a very, very important area that we could do in India, and we must focus on that. in the process, we could bring about an indigenous understanding of medical health, knowledge, as well as public health and reaching out. The other area of work is community responsibility. I think while we keep talking about incubation labs, we are still thinking in the line of engineering colleges. Of course, all credit to them for the kind of work they do. But I think in areas, I would say even in the Baba Sahib Ambedkar Open University, whether we could look at social responsibility or bringing about knowledge in the social sector or in the rural sector as areas for incubating. We have students who have brought together clubs to bring about a certain understanding of how they can be peer mentors to school, or create modules for easy science learning for schools. Can we make that? Can we incubate that idea? Can that be a startup? Is that the kind of self-reliance we should be looking at? A certain understanding of work which is beyond the kind of understanding that we have had today. Isn't the pandemic giving us an understanding that social responsibility needs to be our primary focus? Empathy training needs to be our primary focus. Then in terms, I think, what we also need to examine, and what has been the largest, I mean, we don't talk about it, we do talk about hybrid learning, but we do not talk about our evaluation methodologies. I think that is another focus that needs to be done. Until we do not evaluate students for teamwork, we do not evaluate students for innovative practices, for social responsibility, and other kinds of inspired learning in terms of inventions and the rest of it, all through teamwork, we will not be able to create a different society as long as we are focused on competition. So I would like to, and I'm going to end, but before ending, I don't want to take time. I know others have spoken. I would like to bring together the ideas. I mean, Gandhi, of course, everybody refers to, but the idea of a man who is being referred to very much in the global circles, Yuval Noah Harari, his book, Sapiens, is something that all of us keep reading. He has said, and I think this is also, I'm echoing what Professor Rajkumar also said, that you cannot see this as a national problem only. While you can respond to it nationally, this is a global problem. So how do we look at it from foreign policy perspective? How do you look at it from international relations? So I think a huge lobbying from young people to look at conscious citizens, to emphasize on the fact that other countries, especially developed countries, should be looking at developing a certain kind of a giving to us. There are ideas coming from people like Thomas Piketty or Thomas Pogge talking about a global tax. I think every developed country needs to look at how they can emphasize on support to us in terms of level of healthcare, developing medicine, vaccine. That kind of a support has to be provided, and we should have the right to ask that. And this should emerge from a sense of compassion from the global field. And this is something we should be talking about. The other idea that I would like to say is that while we keep talking about large-scale changes, the national education policy provides us a framework where we can also look at what Karl Popper calls piecemeal social engineering. There is an understanding developed from the writings of a very well-known economist called an international philosopher called Nassim Taleb. And Taleb says that there are three kinds of triads at which we look at way we respond to situations. Either we can be, the idea is that either you can be fragile or you can be robust. Fragile is we break down and we don't respond to this at all, and we go, oh hi, kya kare, ab kya kar sakte hain. But or we become robust and we are just stable and we continue with how we are. But anti-fragile is the most important thing that we have to gain from this disorder. And how can we gain from this disorder? There are no quick fixes to this. We can only learn together. And I think it's important that we are learning together in this field. The other thing is, should we wait for resources to come to us? A lot of institutions talk about infrastructural support or other kinds of funding coming in. Therein, I bring in the thought of a resilient speaker called Lehan Stemet. And Stemet says that there is a hierarchy of needs theory, which is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs theory, where you have psychological, physiological needs. They have to be satisfied. खाना पीना मिल जाए, फिर आपके safety needs satisfy होंगे, फिर आपके belongingness, फिर आपके esteem needs, फिर जाके आप कुछ society के लिए करेंगे. लेकिन वो कहते हैं कि आप उल्टा कर दीजिए. Bring in self-actualization first. And that is the Indian philosophy. The Indian philosophy is one of giving. So Can we bring in self-actualization first? Can we have institutions, looking at achieving one's full potential, including our creative activities, by consciously developing a need for empathy building? So create that, and the kind of, the open book exams and the other kinds of, testing will not help. We have to put our emphasis on testing, and empathy training is something that UNESCO does for certain schools, but it has not developed into higher education. We need to bring that in. In concluding, I would say that the pandemic and the lockdown has made us realize that we are fragile and we are vulnerable as a species. It also has made us realize the harms that can be brought into our environment that can result in such virulent viruses. So we must be aware of the fact that this pandemic has resulted because of consumeristic growth. And how can we bring about a sustainable, conscious, ethical living with an emphasis on public health? And India cannot, it is only India which can lead us in this field. And we are unprepared because our present models of individual growth cannot deal with this. It has to be done collectively. We have to think collectively. We have to decide collaboratively, and we have to empathize creatively. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Vijayalakshmi Nanda ma'am, for your thoughtful views. Now, I welcome our eminent speaker, Professor Dipti Omchuri Valla ma'am, who is the leading exponent of Mohiniyattam, a classical dance of Kerala. Over the past 3 decades, Dr. Dipti ma'am, along with her mother, Dr. Leela Omchuri, eminent musicologist and recipient of the Padma Shri Award, has been doing intense research on sopan music, the temple music of Kerala. These research findings have been recorded by Dr. Dipti ma'am, brought out through DVDs and CDs by Kerala Tourism and Prasar Bharati, with rare collection of compositions renders in both vocal and Mohiniyattam. The BBC has telecasted a special feature on her contributions. Professor Dipti Valla ma'am has been honored with several awards like Sangeet Natak Akademi Puraskar, the Kerala Sangeet Natak Academy Award, the Award of Excellence by Sri I.P. Gujral, former Prime Minister of India. She is a top-graded artist of Doordarshan and has given several national programs empaneled in the outstanding category of ICCR. Without further ado, I invite Professor Dipti Valla ma'am to share her views on today's topic. Please, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam, for this brief introduction. Though here I have joined today as an academician because I have been a professor teaching in Delhi University at the Department of Music for the past almost 36 years, classical music, and I have been a part of the growth of this development of this university. I've been a very much part of it because I was a student right from the honors time. And of course, I have been the dean and head of the department also. I have been actually listening to I would say, a very enlightening and very productive addresses made by the speakers, both in the first session and also by the speakers, my colleague, Professor Nanda here. And I've been really, I must say, have been very enlightened by all these and very encouraged and inspiring. These were very inspiring sessions because the academician also needs to be inspired. So for that, I would like to extend my gratitude to Professor Ami Upadhyay, who thought of inviting me to attend to this UNESCO AIU consultative meet on the impact of COVID on higher education. And I have prepared some notes, but mainly I would be focusing on the kind of hardships that my students and teachers, because music happens to be a practical oriented courses, the kind of hardships and the shocks that we encountered, and how we try to overcome those challenges, and which almost seemed to be impossible to handle in the beginning, but how we could resolve it towards the end. So I'm going to mainly focus on the kind of issues that came in the Department of Music, Delhi University, and how we tried to overcome. Me, at that time, I was the dean and head of the department. The current higher education system aims at shifting from an input-centric and credential-based pedagogical approach to a learner-centric and learning outcome-based approach. To improve the quality of teaching and research, focusing on this aspect of Department of Music, University of Delhi has designed several courses that leads towards this goal, bringing the conventional with the modern system of education. When the nationwide lockdown was first announced on 24th March 2020, the educational institutions were unaware and unprepared for the challenges that lay ahead. The Department of Music, University of Delhi was no different, staring at an unprecedented crisis of imparting education in classical music. Being predominantly a practical-oriented subject, the challenges for Indian music were far more than other theoretical subjects in humanities and social sciences. The first toughest challenge that confronted the music department was that the conducting of the April-May semester's examination. With the lockdown, a majority of the students had fled for safety for their hometown. Many of these places had poor or nil connectivity. This, when I heard today from what the address made by Dr. Mittal, Professor Rajkumar, and even Professor Anamik Shah, I really tend to agree, because a majority of the students from the department who are learning from music department, they actually belong to the rural areas. They come from those rural backgrounds where there is insufficient electricity connectivity, and naturally, which leads to insufficient disturbance and disruption in the internet connectivity, or almost no connectivity. So we are actually tackling that generation, that group of students, the stakeholders. After several discussions and deliberations, it was decided that only the final batches would be required to appear for examinations, while the first and the second were to be promoted on the basis of previous year's exam results and through a continuous process of evaluation, which was done offline. The final years, those who had no internet facility and found it difficult to access books or relevant materials for writing the open book examination, were assisted by the teachers. As Professor Nanda said, that they became the frontline warriors. Or relevant materials for writing the open book examination were assisted by teachers who forwarded notes and scanned pages of textbooks through WhatsApp groups, which were created for each course and each batch. For practical examination, the Viva VOC took predominance to an otherwise half-an-hour performance with accompaniment. The second challenge was the admission at the UG-PG level, which is based purely on the practical entrance test and merit-based admissions. With the approval from the university, the department resolved the issue with the two-way process of entrance test. The first included a YouTube uploading of their unedited, non-studio, original audio-video recording of classical Indian music of a certain duration, with restricted viewing sent to an official link provided by the university. A committee screened these candidates. The names of the shortlisted candidates were placed on the university website, who were then invited for the final round, which was a live online audition. Now, I would say this too posed a lot of challenges. Here too, those who did not have the internet were given the liberty of appearing through WhatsApp video calls. For those who could not upload on YouTube, a secured mail ID was provided by the department to which these candidates mailed their audio videos. At every stage of the process, till the very end, the teachers ensured the comfort of each candidate and succeeded finally in the completion of the entire process of admissions. Before the pandemic, all practical sessions were held with both students and individual teachers seated on the carpeted floor. of classroom. The face-to-face teaching is an inseparable ingredient of this age-old tradition, with sessions that involve continuous repetitions of what the guru taught. The live sessions developed a personal bond between the teacher and the taught, which led to an overall conducive environment for teaching learning process. The COVID-19 had a devastating impact on this teaching learning process. Now, the initial hiccups that we faced while starting the online classes were there was erratic connection of internet resulting in frequent unintended exits from the class. Fluctuation of internet speeds resulting in lack of clarity of sound, thereby disturbing the flow of session, which in turn distracted both teacher and the taught. Variance in download and upload speeds, resulting often in student being able to hear the teacher, but not vice versa. Inability of the teacher and all the students to switch on their cameras and mics during online teaching, which consumed excess data and hampered the quality of practical classes. All these proved stressful to the teachers who had to make extra efforts in sustaining the interest of the students and ascertaining the effectiveness of the teaching imparted. These initial hiccups were gradually resolved by both teachers and the students. With not many books uploaded on any website, the successive lockdowns and the closure of library disturbed the students, especially the research scholars and teachers alike. Department teachers took it upon themselves to browse online books and make them available to the students through their respective WhatsApp groups. The students were also guided towards browsing authentic research websites, thereby empowering their skills in academic abilities. Copies of chapters in books and notes on specific topics, if not found on website by the students, were distributed by the teachers. Similarly, the students were groomed towards guided listening to recordings of eminent musicians for prescribed ragas. These were further supported by audio recordings made by teachers themselves, which helped even the weaker ones. The browsing of research websites by students and research scholars opened new vistas for acquiring important study materials and research data. With repeated lockdowns and rise in COVID situation, the research scholars offered field trips for conducting interviews with musicians, scholars, and experts, which resulted in inordinate delays in submission of these dissertations, causing anxieties especially for those who were at the last stage of completion and submission of their research thesis. The extension of time limit by the UGC did bring about some relief, though many had to deal with the pressure from their employing institutions in returning back to their place of work. Now, how did we respond to the HED, the response of the HED to COVID-19 crisis? This is a point that was given to me to base my paper on. First and foremost action taken by Delhi University was to enhance the internet connectivity, which was done by increasing the broadband width. Logins were provided to the teachers for internet connectivity through VPN for accessing all e-journals. Extra efforts were made to ensure an undisrupted Wi-Fi connectivity. The university provided networks like Google Meet for conducting classes and Microsoft Teams and Zoom for webinars and conferences where participants' number exceeded beyond Google Meet limit of 100. A team of teachers well versed with internet technology was constituted who helped in facilitating the online mode of classroom teaching, admissions, and examinations. The Google Meet links were also created for office administration and non-teaching staff for the purpose of conducting online meetings with committees set up for smooth functioning of all academic and cultural activities. Teachers who till then used their computers mainly for accessing research websites, mailing or storing their work and data, familiarized and gradually became adept in skillfully handling several features of their laptops, essentially needed for online teaching. Each teacher for every course at both UG, PG level created his own secured Google Meet link and shared the same with different batches of students. Familiarizing with programming features in the Google link that schedule dates, times as per the official timetable, recording the sessions for being forwarded through mail or WhatsApp as and when need arose. All these strengthened the teaching learning process during the pandemic. Considering the fact that majority of the students could connect only through their mobiles, WhatsApp groups were created for all classes of all programs, degree, diploma, short term, etc., in both Hindustani and Carnatic music. These groups not only enabled students to connect for online classes, but also became a platform for receiving all important notifications regarding their admissions and examinations and resolving their grievances, and thus reducing their stress levels. So the pandemic had jolted us all out of our comfort zone, creating a panic of different kinds. The determination of not succumbing to the deterrence it created at every stage led the teachers and students and the administrative staff coming together to combat with countermeasures. Once the issues of examinations and admissions were resolved, the department took upon the task of resuming all its normal academic and cultural activities that were designed for the benefit of students. I would say here that we just sprung back after the initial shock that we all had, because within a month of the nationwide lockdown being announced, the department conducted a series of international and national online workshops conducted by classical musicians of international repute. This was a big achievement as the department had just switched over to an unfamiliar teaching mode, and it was the first big test of organizing with Google Meet as a viable online platform for all academic ventures. Likewise, an online telecast of annual Malhar Utsav, the annual Basant Panchami, was organized that exposed students to both popular and rare and unheard ragas which were associated with spring and monsoon seasons. Students were motivated to perform even when the environment was least conducive in an exclusive program called Sadhyayan. With no physical support of accompanying artists on percussion and melodic instruments, they learned to download apps that supported their performance. Thanks to the online mode, which included Facebook, YouTube, their talents reached beyond their teachers and peers, a wider audience, both in India and abroad. A redeeming feature in telecasting online programs without any outside professional help was the audio-video recordings carried out by only the teachers and the students, with technologically advanced sound equipments in the department just when the offline mode started. This paved the way for a new learning pedagogy with both teacher and the taught equipping themselves with the complex recording techniques, the editing and telecasting. The task was tough and challenging, which posed several hurdles, but ultimately the incessant effort brought about a fruitful culmination. Whenever it was not possible for the editorial, even when it was not possible for the editorial board team that comprised of teachers and student editors to meet offline, the members of the editorial board reviewed papers through online mode and successfully completed the publication of 2 issues of Agishwari, the UGC Care listed research journal of the department in December 20 and February 21. That included research papers and seminar proceedings. One of these, of course, was dedicated to the late eminent scholar academician Padma Vibhushan Dr. Kaplavat Sain, who passed away during the pandemic. The next point is the moving ahead to the new normal and facing new emergencies. The COVID-19 pandemic is a global occurrence. These are defining moments in global history, wherein some things have permanently altered for good or bad. The new normal moving ahead in teaching Indian classical music at higher education level can be expected to include hybrid class, both online and offline, online auditions and admissions for candidates living in far-off areas of India, abroad, saving time and money in traveling, live telecast of concerts, workshops, webinars, and conferences of online platforms in free or paid modes, Arrival of 5G will generate greater speeds in mobiles, leading for better connectivity in online classes and events. MOU between national and international music institutions will see greater use of online technology for virtual, academic, and cultural exchange programs with lesser financial burden on both sides. To conclude, I would say the pandemic has enabled the teaching learning process and pedagogy to reinvent and evolve so as to align with the modern digital and modern technology. While change in teaching pedagogy is inevitable, it is important to sensitively balance the modernity with conventional teaching methods. In music, lost its impact, lest its impact, it impacts the traditional character of Indian fine arts. Online teaching is here to stay, but must be reserved to teaching students in far-flung areas, different cities, and abroad. The traditional Gurumukh Vidya is still the most effective and time-tested way of music teaching, best achieved when the teacher and taught have live interaction, face-to-face, that bonds the guru and the shishya, creating an ideal situation for learning of the subject. And I would also briefly state here that with many artists adversely hit by the pandemic losing their daily bread, music industry, as also any industry involving fine arts, needs to be better organized. Artists, be vocalists, instrumentalists, dancers, actors, must come under one single umbrella with compulsory contributory annual registrations and funding from government and its public bodies such as ICCR, IGNCAs, the Sangeet Natak Academy, etc. Private corporations must also step in to fund artists who are on the fringes of the realm of performance so that should a pandemic like this affect artists, or even if a small artist has a health emergency or passes away, he or his family can be supported momentarily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Dipti Bhalla ma'am, for your precious thoughts on today's topic. Next, I welcome Professor Dilip Bharat sir, former Dean of Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji, Bhavnagar University, Gujarat. Recently, Ministry of HRD, Government of India, has awarded special financial assistance for e-content development, and he is working on UGC research project on technology and teaching English. Please, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. I think I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, please give me the share feature also. So if I want to share a few things,
Yes,
then
sir.
I am able
Yes.
to. Yeah. Okay, so thanks a lot to Honorable Vice Chancellor of BAOU, Professor Ami Upadhyay, for giving this opportunity to all of us to gather on this platform and share our experiences of COVID-19. And it was very interesting to listen to everybody right from the morning. And we have very interesting, successful stories also. Just now we have listened how the college dealing with music and other thing also has found a way out to combat with the COVID-19 situation. Well, personally, looking at my own concern as a teacher, I deal with English language and literature in the PG department of Maharaja Krishna Kumar Singh Ji, Bhavnagar University. And for quite a long time, we deal with technology. I am, in a way, keep on organizing teacher training programs also, keep on visiting different places for teacher training so far as use of technology in teaching is concerned. Not only language and literature, but even with engineering teachers, science, commerce, and other teachers also. And for quite a long time, like 2008-9, we were talking about technology in education. We were talking about ICT in education. NEC used to make something very compulsory and was always asking teachers and colleges that are you using ICT in the thing. And And we were using PowerPoint presentations, and we used to tell that yes, we are using ICT because we are using PowerPoint presentations. Well, those were the days where we have to teach how to make PowerPoint presentations also, and then projectors, how to connect with projectors and how to deal. Very early days of those things. But what was happening was that we are not getting a kind of a success that we were expecting as a teacher trainer or as a teacher. Like not many people in academia were interested in the use of technology. They were still having some kinds of inhibitions, some kinds of excuses about infrastructure, about lack of training, and many such things that they were always giving as an excuse. Then came Corona, and obviously I remember Richard Thaler, the famous economist, who gave nudge theory, nudge, Nudge, nudge theory. And we have witnessed that the nudge theory worked. When it became compulsory, mandatory, there was no way out but to use technology. Large number of teachers started switching over towards the use of technology in different capacities also. And then obviously in a different way, there was an amazing demand from academia to learn new things, to train teachers in a different capacity building. And I happen to have lots of chances to interact with so many teachers in last 2 years over online mode, not physical, but online mode. And so, be it teachers in Shillong, Meghalaya, Assam, Guwahati, or teachers in Maharashtra, Chennai, Tamil Nadu, teachers, Gujarat, and many states. I happen to have online trainings, Karnataka, Dharwad, Karnataka University. So at many places, I got a chance to interact with teachers and to share that what are the possibilities. Now, obviously, teachers were taking things very quickly also now because it was need. You wanted those things on a daily basis also. So it was something very interesting to see that in last 2 years we got a kind of golden opportunity to see that how technology can be very seriously integrated into academia, something that we were trying for last 10-12 years, but in just 1 year it became so possible that now we are like today also interacting in an online mode here. So what things are there? What are the learning lessons or how things went on around all this time? Let me share a few screens here to talk about a couple of these things. The first important thing that was necessary in this was to have also some kind of innovation. And while teaching, like for example, when we deal with language and literature, board work plays a very vital role, very vital and a very significant role also. So you were in need of some kinds of technology where it's not high end of technology, but still it is very effective in an online mode. It should give also a feeling of the offline mode. So this glass board we prepared here, and it was not very costly. It was just a kind of a jugaad that we did, and we prepared this glass board. And this was one of the very interesting aspect in our teaching learning in online mode, in hybrid mode also. So this one device which we have to innovate and prepare was very effective thing in looking at the teaching learning process. And this obviously helps in a way like just let me go to the next slide. That it makes teaching really looks very live. For example, teachers on the other side of the screen can see the teachers face to face, and whatever teacher is writing or whatever board work teacher is doing, students can experience also that. So what is important for teaching process is teaching learning process is that when the teacher is unfolding the information in presence of the students, they come to know about how the very information is opened up slowly and steadily. and that helps learners in their memory also, and in their proper understanding also. So this was one aspect which was very important and very interesting that we worked out during this this time, and it was very helpful also as a part of this. Then we worked on various simple tools. We talk a lot about high end of technology, but our quest was that the technology which doesn't require too much of expertise, and with a lesser expertise, how can we work with simple things? So some device like this, which we call it document viewer, can be very effectively used in online classrooms, or even hybrid mode classrooms also. So we try to explore the possibility of various possibilities of using such simple tools which doesn't require kind of a high end of technology into teaching and learning also. So this also worked quite well when we have seen those things. One of the major challenges for a literature classroom is that we need to use a kind of visuals a lot. For example, films, stage performances of plays, or cinematic adaptations of films. So this was one idea which we tried. Obviously, this requires a little bit of more of a technology, but not something that is nearly impossible. So there is a glass board, then there is OBS Studio, and then with the help of that, we can also show a play and talk about it also. So this all were possible in a live classroom also. So this also was one of the most challenging aspect, which was sorted out or solved out in using this various technologies which were available during this this COVID time also. One of the most challenging tasks also came when we started opening up. When we started opening up, at that time also, like it was told that half of the class should come in for the physical learning, and half has to remain online. So these classes were even tough. It was very challenging to set up a class in this hybrid mode, where some students are sitting in the class, some are in online mode, and you as a teacher are interacting with both the groups. And in classroom, we obviously require the inputs from both the groups. So those who are sitting there, they will also answer. Those who are online, they also will give some kinds of responses. So management of camera, audio system, was very challenging during this time. So some students speaking from online mode, and then people listening, and then we are interacting with both the groups, was a bit challenging task. But somehow we sorted out. It was not an easy task, but still somehow we managed to sort out the things, and there was lots of learning from all these things, for which we want to see that what kind of learning we have seen in all these capacities also. So these were also some of those classes where we mingle up. Now these are all traditional classrooms, we can say. In the traditional classrooms, we have this students sitting here, and then some online, and they are interacting there. So this all things were managed there. Obviously not an easy task. Obviously not an easy task. This is one aspect, or a glimpse of what or how we faced what we call it as the COVID situation during this time. Well, apart from this, what other things we did, or how we faced the other challenges here? For example, students wanted to participate in youth and cultural activities, but it was not possible during this year to do that. So we planned a virtual literary festival, and our students quite enthusiastically participated in all these events. The events were live streamed also, and some of the events, like performance of drama, mono acting, that also was quite successfully planned during this this time. even storytelling or open mic and other things are there. Singing also, even poetry recitation, singing events were also planned during this time. So this was like 3 long days of virtual youth festival events that were there. Then we had like very interestingly to see that our students were quite enthusiastic in preparing this videos also. So when we had Teachers Day, then students celebrated virtual Teachers Day by preparing very interesting videos. So normally we have the thing that students normally become teachers on the Teachers Day. But well, now the things were that the teachers are online now. So for them, the experience of being an online teacher was very challenging. So, but they all tried. They did amazing work and lots of interesting videos. They all prepared here, and it was good to see how students are working with technology there. Now, this all things were very interesting answers to us that uh, well our new generation of students are very ready to use technology. What we have experienced in last 2 years is that it is not that the young people or the students are hesitant in using technology. Yes, many of them do not have a high end of devices, but there are very few. Things are manageable also. And uh, as such, we have not faced such a problem that students are saying that they are really terribly suffering from either electricity or bandwidth issues or other things. It was not such a mega issue that it was not doable. Like there are challenges that everybody faces, but those challenges were not that you can't solve those challenges in different capacities there. So either it is teaching or learning or other co-curricular activities or other celebrations of days and other kinds of things, students very actively, proactively participated. Not only that, they also came up with very interesting examples for us also that we can still explore more of the things in different capacities there. So what do we learn? What do we ultimately get from all these things? What are our outcome from this? I don't wanted to talk in detail about various things, but as most of the speakers before me have already said many things, so I avoid repetition in different ways. So many people have obviously said that there was a problem of infrastructure. Maslow's model also was discussed by one of the speakers before me. We have the problem of scarcity of several things in terms of technology with our learners, that also was discussed. So I'm not going into those things. But what is an outcome of last 2 years of dealing with technology and battling with COVID-19? Though I have a very happy experience with that, I have realized that we need to relook at our training modules. When we train our teachers or when we are making our teachers, we need to now tell them that don't only think of ICT, also think of digital technology also. So ICT is a gone days now. We are entering into the world of digital technology, so that we have to look at. And we have to tell that online teaching is completely different from what we were doing. What we were doing is emergency remote teaching. This is not online teaching. So if our outcomes are telling us that online teaching is failing and not getting a result, but well, it is not online teaching. It was ERT. It was emergency remote teaching. Into teachers toolkit, we need to update couple of things like CMS, LMS, and other. So up till now, what were we thinking as a part of teachers toolkit? His basic information or the knowledge of the subject that is required, his stage performance when he goes on the stage and he performs, his board work or his work with PPTs. Those were the important components in the toolkit. But now a teacher should have his or her own content management system, learning management system, and then various tools for synchronous and asynchronous teaching also. ERT, we have seen that it is a emergency remote teaching. I'm not going in detail of all these things but it is very much different from what we think of online teaching. Emergency remote teaching is obviously something which we are going to end as soon as the traditional teaching will begin. And online teaching is something that we have to plan things in a far better way also. We have to think that the very pedagogy of online teaching is completely different. From behavioristic design to constructivist design, we have to move on to understand online teaching in a proper way. And here we have to see that the very properties of teachers are changing. The very properties of teacher is changing here. Here there is more of a technological affordance in the program. Yet there is, as such, there is no teacher as such here, but he is somewhere one who is using technology very effectively. He also becomes a kind of a tool, if we don't want to use that word, but still we can't escape from that also. So in traditional classroom, teachers' personality matters a lot, whereas in online things, it becomes a part of so many other things also. So that needs to be understood in a proper context. When we think of digital technology and ICT, we see that digital technology means students are also effectively engaging themselves with technology, very effectively engaging and creating something. It is not only teacher using technology, so it is not teacher centric, but it is what learners are doing with technology that is very, very important component. As we have seen that we still battle with how to face camera, how to control the audio and various systems that students need to learn a lot. So how will they deal with artificial intelligence, which again becomes a huge concern for everybody there. What I have seen when I have dealt with so many teachers as a trainer during last 2 years in COVID time in online mode, around 1100 participants in online mode I have interacted with them as a part of workshop or faculty development program or short-term training programs. And I normally used to ask them several questions that, do you have your blog or website? Do you have your video sharing platform? Like, are you on YouTube or any other such platform where you share your videos, your own videos? Are you sharing? What are you doing for the assessment part? How far you are using online things, or are you taking your learner towards digital portfolio or not? So there is a big zero in digital portfolio. So we'll come to that point also. But it is very alarming to see. Obviously, many people started using online assessment during this time, so it was good. But still, it was like using Google quiz form. It was not like the proper exam by universities being conducted in online mode, but what teachers are doing as a part of their teaching learning process. But so far as blog website, which is a very important component for learning management and content management system is concerned, many teachers, even today, even after 2 years of dealing with technology, are not well equipped, which is very alarming sign. So teachers should necessarily be trained, whether there is COVID or no COVID. The new toolkits which we need to add into the making of our teachers is this: that all teachers should have their own content management sharing platforms under their control, or learning management systems under their control, not institutional control. That is a necessary condition to move further in this dynamic. And then they all should be makers of video resources in one or the other capacities. Even their classroom performances can be recorded and uploaded by them, and let teachers be in control of their content instead of institutional control. We can have institutional control also, but each and every teacher should be equipped that they don't have to say that, no, I am not on any video sharing platform or YouTube or Vimeo or whatever we call it, or I don't have a blog because my institute have. Now that should not be there. That teachers' independence, so far as these things are concerned, is very, very important kind of a thing there. And then we have to take all our learners towards making of digital portfolio. And we have to see that ultimate assessment of everything should become a kind of a digital portfolio here. We have to look for a model. And I normally imagine that this model is something that all the teachers should be trained into. We have to think of blended mode. Again, I say, irrespective of COVID-19 situation, we have to look for the blended mode in a regular routine work. So at the bottom, we have CMS, LMS, content management and learning management systems like Moodle, Google Classroom, or blog or websites there. Then we have digital communication links, like many of us were using only WhatsApp as a digital communication links. But WhatsApp is a very risky platform for such a communication. We expose our students to lot many things where the privacy becomes problematic. So there should be email groups or there should be discussion groups in such a way which are controlled sometimes by learning management systems also. So that we have to see. We are still not talking about the privacy of our learners on digital platforms, which also was very much challenged during COVID-19 time. Synchronous and asynchronous teaching learning. So live sessions, how we take. So even if we go into the normal days, we have to think that at least once a week, teachers are conducting online classes and students are attending online class even in normal days, so that we keep on keeping ourselves abreast or honing our skills facing camera and having an online interaction also. So that is synchronous, what platforms we use. Many people had lots of problem with WebEx here. And we should be equipped with all the popular platforms. That should be a part of a training. Zoom, Meet, MS Teams, WebEx. So all our teachers, experts should be exposed to all the popular platforms for their synchronous live interactions. Asynchronous is to be that all the sessions are recorded or live streamed, like this one is live streamed on Facebook also. That has to happen as a necessary component. There should not be an option to a teacher that whether you want to record and upload or not. That option we need to eliminate. Obviously, it is very challenging. Many teachers would say that it is like my teaching. I don't want to expose to the world or to society. Well, when we are forced by COVID, we all were exposed to society. We were exposed to the family members, and we have seen that many family members were not happy with the teachers, and there was lots of backlash with the performance of the teachers, and many questioned that are we paying fees so that our kids are learning from these teachers. So well, we are never trained to see that parents also will sit in our classrooms. Yeah? We were never trained that parents or relatives or anybody will sit in my classroom. But well, now we have to be very careful when we think of our training modules, that well, keep your class open, let it be open there. And online assessment, a necessary component. So I'm not only looking at online assessment, but university will conduct, there's proctored exam. There are chances of cheating, and we by and large spend our time in how students would not cheat, not that. But everything that student is doing throughout the semesters, throughout their learning, everything should be uploaded on some digital platforms, and it should convert into digital portfolio. And that itself should become the tool of final assessment or evaluation for the students. So this model we need to look at when we tend to see towards these platforms. Just, hello, am I? As a part of an experience of dealing with COVID-19 situation. Thank you, BAOU, for giving this interesting opportunity to share ideas with all of you.
Thank you so much, Professor Dilip Bharat, sir, for your such a wonderful thoughts on technology and teaching English. So now I conclude this session here, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank UNESCO and AIU and Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar Open University for successful coordinating this webinar. I would also like to thank the eminent speakers, Honorable Professor Anamik Shah sir, Professor Vijaya Lakshmi Nanda ma'am, Professor Dipti Omchari Bhalla ma'am, and Professor Dilip Bharat sir. The eminent speakers have enlightened us now how COVID-19 has affected the current education scenario. Next, I would like to thank Professor Ami Upadhyay ma'am for leading this webinar to success. I would like to thank the team of Chaitanya Studio and the English department for rendering their services to make this webinar successful. Last, I would like to thank all the online participants for their enthusiastic participation. And last but not the least, I also would like to conclude this session with Charles Dickens' quote, which Professor Vijayalakshmi Nanda ma'am has mentioned in her speech. It was the best of time. It was the worst of times. It was the age of wisdom. It was the age of foolishness. It was the epoch of belief. It was the epoch of incredulity. It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. So thank you. Thank you so much to